being a club owner really comes down to being like a guidance counselor for a high school, because you're constantly listening to he said, she said. Eventually you'll get like little evidences, but you have to still sit down and talk to people. And then even if you don't sit down and talk to them, you have to explain to their like friends that are going to ask the questions, hey, why was this person gotten rid of, or why were they essentially expelled from the group, or anything like that. And it's a never-ending cycle, and you'll always be dealing with something. As much as you don't want drama to be there, when people are involved with each other in such a close setting, eventually someone's going to say something else to upset someone, and you have to handle it. And constantly having to handle that never-ending revolving door of issues is inevitably where it becomes a struggle for a lot of places, because it demotivates a lot of people.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Sweet Talkin' Podcast with me, your host, Nepherti. This is episode 68 of the Sweet Talking Podcast, and I sincerely appreciate everyone who has been so supportive of the podcast thus far. We are well on our way to 70. We're getting up there, and always just very grateful to everyone who has believed in the content that I'm making, all the guests that have come on, and just everyone who's been watching live right now, because some of you are watching live via via Twitch right now. And I appreciate you all being here in the live audience. But those of you who are watching this on YouTube right now, before we jump into things, well, I guess for both sides, before we jump into the actual podcast and introduce our guest for this evening, I do want to take a moment and thank everyone who has been so supportive of my current subathon that's going on right now. You guys have been very, very awesome, very, very supportive, and very, very lovely. And thank you for believing me and helping me to continue to grow and have the means to do the really, really cool things, really, really cool content. There's a lot going on over at twitch.tv/Nepherti right now, and it's really all thanks to my community being so supportive of what I do. So thank you to everyone from my community, all of my badasses. Thank you very much. Really do appreciate you all very, very much. And I also want to give thanks to those of you who have been loyal to me over at patreon.com/Nepherti. I don't want to spend too much about time on this, but you guys over there have been so instrumental in helping me to get to where I am now. You all have been so supportive, and I'm so grateful to all of you who've continued to fund what I do and continue to let the work that I do have a benefit to it and continue to grow as we continue to produce more and more episodes and create more and more post conversations and other content over at Patreon for you all to enjoy wherever you choose to enjoy. But I want to thank you all for being so gracious to me over there, and I will talk about this at the end of tonight's episode. But in the meantime, we're gonna go ahead and get that out of the way, because we have a conversation, another guest for you this evening. And tonight I am joined by the owner of DGen Club, Milyugen. It's good to have you on the podcast.
It's good being here.
Yeah.
Good being here.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm excited.
Oh yeah.
Been waiting for it for a little bit.
Yeah. It's been good. I'm very much looking forward to talking to you more. And we actually had a couple of conversations. And they've been very, very good, very, very, very interesting. You seem to be a very, very good conversationalist, and I'm very interested in learning more about you. I've had to hold my tongue while talking to you because it's been there have been so many things that I've wanted to ask you and talk to you about. But I knew that when we first met at the Trevor Project 12-hour event that was put together by Femboy Host Club, and we had those interviews at that time. We had a chance to kind of chit-chat a little bit afterwards, and I'm like, you know what? This person seems very, very interesting. Very, very, very interesting individual, and they seem like they've done a lot of things that I think would be very, very cool to discuss in a longer format here. So, obviously, thank you for not just brushing me off or anything, because I didn't know you didn't know me, and you could have just been like, I got better things to do. I don't need to talk to this person, even though they just spent like 45 minutes interviewing like 5 people at once. Like, what? Yeah, what did you think about that actually? Like, what was that experience
Oh,
like for you during that?
it was interesting because like I was told that after the Trevor promo, like during about the end, they were like, okay, we need a couple people that do club owners and stuff. They want them on this interview, so that way that they can talk about couple different things, and I was like, okay, and I showed up and I was like, oh, these are actually really good questions. Oh, this is a good conversation. I'm having a good time, and then everyone being able to interact was really interesting to talk to everybody. So I was like, oh, and then after with our conversation, I was like, oh, you hold really good conversation, and I was like, oh, and then you're talking about the podcast and everything. I was like, oh, I actually would love to do that. Sounds really fun because I love having conversations. I mean, one of the things that makes this game great. So
Yeah, it is. It's a social vibe that make VRChat so great, and so I'm very very glad that you decided to come on. And would you believe that that was my first time interview? Not my first time. Like throughout the entirety of the day, I was interviewing people, but in a very short form. My usual style of podcasting is long form. But doing that for the first time, that was my first time doing that in a long form, like sitting with 5 people at once. I'd never done that before. And to do so in a short format was even more challenging for me. But that was definitely my first time, like making that happen. So I'm glad that you were impressed and that you enjoyed the questions, because I was just kind of doing my best, kind of making it work for a first timer. So. It's awesome.
you're
That's
doing
awesome.
a good job at it. So
Well, thank you.
yeah.
Well, enough about me. We're here to talk about you and like what you do. So let's go ahead and get started with that. So I always ask this question of my guests when we first start out. From the very beginning, if you had to introduce yourself to someone who didn't know who you were in VRChat or who you are in VRChat, how would you introduce yourself to them?
How would I introduce myself to someone that I didn't know in VRChat? I would just say that I'm the chaotic little bug that brings a lot of people kind of everywhere. So you kind of see me all around. Everyone calls me the little fox that's running around. So, because I'm constantly doing something, constantly talking to somebody, or there's some conversation being had. And if not, I'm running around being mischievous and getting into trouble. Not but the type where you get more and more people to have fun and work together and game to say the least. But it's all I do in this game, and yeah, I think that's who I am. Just chaos incarnate, I guess, a little bit.
All right. Yeah, that works for me. So, I do think that it's proper to ask the question, for people who may not be very familiar with, the culture of VRChat, the vibrancy of different walks of life and on this platform that kind of have gathered here and for this very grand social experiment we call VRChat. So, what I'm getting at is, how would you like to be called? I know these days people care about that sort of thing to some degree, but how would you like to be? I guess pronoun wise. What do you actually prefer? What are you comfortable with?
Oh, I kind of go with anything at this point because how much soft my voice is. A lot of people take me as a female, and then that's just how it is. It's even in like IRL on the phone. Trust me, I get people, yes, ma'am. I'm like, oh, okay, but I go by he, him naturally. But anything calls me, I don't get offended by it. So whatever people want to identify me as, I'll go along with it. But I am he, him.
Okay, yeah, that works. So, I did wanna ask about just like how did you kind of land on this particular look for yourself? And also, before I even get to that, am I pronouncing your name properly? By the way, is it Milyugen, or is that how it's pronounced?
Milyugen. Yeah, Milyugen is how it is. Everyone just calls me Mily, though, since it's a lot shorter instead of hearing Milyugen.
Okay.
which is the common.
Yeah, the common American pronunciation, I bet. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, mostly where I get it from. A lot of other people get it right, but yeah, and mostly people from America call me Eugene, which is interesting.
Yeah. I happen to have like Japanese background, so not culturally, but just I've studied the language, so that's kind of how I knew. Because I believe Yugen, I believe is no Mugen is infinite. Yugen is a state of being, like the term. I think it's like a state of. Okay, you can tell me. How about you explain
Oh
it?
yeah. Yeah. So Milyugen actually comes from two different words, two different languages. You were right; it's Japanese on the second half. The first part is from the Latin word "amil," which means a frost-covered environment, and then the Japanese is Yugen, which is the Japanese word to describe an area in nature too beautiful to be described by words. So altogether, the name means a frost-covered environment is too beautiful to be described by words.
Yeah, and why would you go with that sort of name? I actually appreciate that meaning behind the name, and I like to think that people who are of a creative persuasion tend to have a lot more care with their name choice. They're not out here being like, Shadow Stopper 3936. They're like there's a little there's a little bit more care that comes to that sort of thing. So how'd you kind of land on that name, and what does it mean to you?
Yeah, so like I always loved like putting a little bit of research into names and things like that. And like I had cycled through quite a few, and I remember back on Xbox, this is actually where all these usernames came from, because up until COVID, I was a console gamer. But I looked through and I had another one that was just pure lat, and I was like, like what really connects to me very closely, and it's mostly nature, and it's the thing I found the most peace in is being outside in nature. And during my childhood growing up, I had a very close relation to snow and the ice and the cold in wintertime altogether. I mean, I was born in December, so of course I'm gonna have all those natural traits, but it goes even deeper. That I was one of those calic babies, one of the babies that cry a lot all the time. I think that's how you pronounce it.
I didn't know there was a term for that.
Yeah, it's a specific type of age. Babies that cry a lot, they don't actually have to have a reason, it's just crying. But I was one of those, and my mom found out one day because she just was tired, and like she took me outside in the winter, and she wrapped me in a blanket and everything, and I was still crying. She couldn't get me to calm down, but the moment the blanket fell, I stopped crying. The cold air hit my skin, and I was like, yeah, I'm good now. And after that, she realized it was an actual thing, because anytime she take me out into the cold air, stop crying, I'm perfectly fine. So then summertime, it got rough really hard for her because I hated how hot it was. And she ended up opening the freezer and letting me, like holding me in front with her in front of the freezer to help out. So
Wow.
And I'd stopped crying then too. So and then nail in the coffin was most peaceful camping trip of my life was during a blizzard. So I always loved the snow after that, and it's always been a part of my life at some point.
Oh, that really is something, honestly. Like that, to have that kind of inherent connection to nature, and not just any form of nature, but specifically like the cold. Or snow. That's pretty significant. I think it's those sorts of things that let me think and let me believe that I do think there's some sort of connection to like how people have lived or past lives. How energy is neither created nor lost. Well, I mean, when there is energy, it doesn't just simply go away. It has to go somewhere, and that's sort of. It's kind of significant in that way. It kind of makes me wonder about those sorts of things. Well, maybe it's because of like someone's like past life or someone's connection to, the energy of like nature that kind of causes them to respond in certain ways to nature in that way. It's very, very interesting stuff. At least I think.
Oh, yeah.
But that's cool.
Oh,
That's,
yeah.
that's very, very cool. I'm the complete opposite. I was born in the summer, and I hate the cold. So yeah, but I deal with it. But but yeah, I get that.
It's not for everyone.
Yeah.
I know that most people hate it.
Yeah.
They're like, the only thing cold's good for is cuddles and hot cocoa, and I'm like, oh, but the cold feels so nice, and like, yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. All right. Yeah, literally. But yeah. Can you tell us about your choice of look and feel in VRChat? I know everyone generally who have been in VRChat for a long period of time come to understand what their particular personality or how like I like to think that people who are well attuned to who they are as a person will choose an avatar that inherently reflects them or that they can identify with, or there's some sort of like connection that they feel to a specific look and appearance in VRChat. So I'm curious to how you landed on yours.
Yeah. And it's honestly been a challenge and a bit of an adventure, to say the least. Because there's a million and five avatars, and I've struggled with trying to find the one that's perfect for me, and I still kind of do. Like I absolutely love this one, and I wear it all the time, and it has all the things that I want. It's just it doesn't have a tail, so that's like one thing that'll make me change. But other than that, I could just get a tail added on, which I plan on doing. So this way, it becomes the permanent. I struggled because finding the right avatar. A lot of people ask me why I didn't go for like male avatars to start, and it's because they're all like cut paste boys for the most part, and like the other ones are soft boys, and I all still kind of use the same body figure. And I'm built softer. My body isn't that crazy muscular or anything like that. Kind of slim. So I was like, we'll go down this route, and then, being softer spoken, everyone's like, yeah, go more of the femboy route, and kind of push the femboy route, and I was like, okay. But then there weren't a lot of good femboy avatars on VRChat quite yet, so it was like you get a couple of them, but a lot of them were just like female avatars that they just cut the chest off completely, and then it just looked kind of off, and made it a little bit harder. But eventually, I was like, there's good things about wearing the female avatars. There's a lot of time and effort. There's a lot of assets. There's a lot of things that people put into these that haven't quite fully transitioned to all the other avatars quite yet. So, but I ended up falling for this one because all the different color things, it has different assets and unique things that you can get on the avatar, and only this avatar. So, man, I fell in love with it after seeing it at a dance event, ironically.
Yeah. So is this particular avatar modified in any way, or is it just like the raw creation from the designer?
This is just the raw creation. It's made by Nepherti. VR, I think, was the creator for it on GC. Yeah, the name of it's Ruby. It's a really good model, but it's just this one. I gotta do little edits, and as I said, it's just adding a tail on. Which, if I'm gonna have fox energy, I gotta have a big bushy tail. So.
Does the color choice have any significance?
Oh, it's the color blue represents the connection to the ice. And same thing with the white on the hair. It's connection to ice. And then the pink is just my favorite color. I really love like the little crossbreed between pink and purple. Kind of leaning on the neon side, I guess, a little bit. As my friends like to say, I like the color of Poyomi shader pink. So. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. I mean, that makes sense. Makes sense to me. Very cool. Yeah, like I like to ask about things that people typically won't really consider or inquire about. I think it's very interesting to see like if there's any kind of thought process, any sort of like meaning behind various choices that a person makes with their avatar and with their look, what the look is all about. So. What were you before you got into VRChat? What were you doing? Like I guess. Well, actually, what do you do? Do you do anything other than VRChat now? And if you did anything before VRChat, were you up to?
So I was in the military prior to VRChat. It's actually how I ended up getting on to the game. Was being stuck overseas and during COVID, and what did I see on YouTube and all these things? VRChat, because it's the game that everyone's playing while in quarantine, and I'm stuck overseas in some tent. So I was like, okay, well, yeah, we'll get into that, but I stayed in the military for a little bit, and eventually I actually had to retire because of an injury that happened while I was in overseas. So, and now I just do VR chat because I can't really work since I'm retired. So it's a little bit of a challenge, but at the same time I make the best of it by experiencing as much as I can on this game.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so can you tell us a little bit about your time in the military? Like, what was that like? And like, what branch were you in? You know?
Oh yeah, I was U.S. Army. I was an 11 Bravo, or infantry. I know that's kind of silly. I can drone on about this forever. I had a good ASVAB score, but I decided to go infantry because I wanted to choose a job that would eventually lead to my career being what I wanted to be, was a paramedic. And I know it kind of sounds off, but to be a paramedic, I wanted to do combat medic, but I was like, before I'm a combat medic, maybe I should know what I'm getting into, like what happens, like what combat, and like what everything I'm going to need to know to take care of the people that I need to take care of as a combat medic. So I was like, I'll go learn how they do their job first. After that contract, I'll go be combat medic. It didn't work out that well. I ended up signing my infantry contract, and I got through basic, did everything great, and got through nice and good scores, and then get to my unit. Was there for a little bit, and unfortunately it wasn't a good assignment. Fort Stewart's probably one of the worst assignments ever for beginning your career in the military, just because they don't reward lower enlisted. It's only higher enlisted, E7s and above and whatnot, which probably sounds like all a bunch of mumbo jumbo. But and then shortly after being at my unit, I got deployed over to Poland for a training thing. It was not even supposed to be a deployment at first, but then COVID happened. We got stuck over there. A combat mission that we were supposed to take over in Syria got taken away because of that. We were stuck in there anyhow, and then inevitably the whole thing with Belarus and Lithuania happened, so we were out there helping out and doing all those crazy things. So and all while that's happening, and VR was a growing place. Mm-hmm. So I got to do a lot of different things, and like I was almost every position that you could be as an infantryman. So I started out like a rifleman as normal. I went to an RTO, which is a radioman for the PL or squad. PL mostly, you stick to their sides. And then after that, I became a grenadier to saw gunner, back to grenadier, back to saw gunner. And saw gunner's about where I got hurt, and then after that I got moved to a mounted section and became a Bradley driver while still injured, which is crazy. I took my licensing for a $3 million vehicle and a full leg splint.
Jeez. Man.
So yeah, pretty interesting and fun that it happened in Poland. Over there was just a dirt road in the middle of nowhere, and that's where I got my license. And that was before I had my civilian license, so I was driving tanks before I was driving cars.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
yeah.
No, go ahead. Finish your thought.
And then after that, I slowly did more and more for the vehicles. I really helped out with a lot of the backline. Our track was the platoon sergeant's track, who was kind of the master gunner for our brigade. So we were at every field op, we were at every training, we were at every range, we were at every gunnery, so that way we can maintain scores. And I had my ammo certification, so I ended up working a lot on ammo detail too. And that was crazy because there were some nights that, getting to sleep on like the ammo, because we're in the middle of nowhere and no one's going to come out and check and making sure we're following protocol, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then eventually it was made a gunner into team leader, and then eventually took place as section lead. Even though it wasn't an NCO, just took the spot for a little bit because I was the only person that knew stuff on Bradley's. And then afterwards, after my surgeries, and they found out that I was solely out processing, they put me in with making classes for people, so that way the new generation of people coming in after the old generation, which that I went to that unit, was there. And they came in knowing something and not nothing. And that was basically my whole career.
Wow. So it sounds like you got out of what I would imagine was high school, went straight into the military.
Oh, so I didn't join the military until I was 21. Yeah, 21 actually.
Okay.
I had, oh goodness, life before the military. I had moved actually from New York all the way to LA, out by myself, to be with my partner. And everything was going good, and then I just decided, I didn't want to work at a job in PetSmart, and college wasn't for me, so I needed to go do something that was going to be high pressure training, basically, for my brain, and decided the military was probably the best. So I did.
Oh.
But yeah.
Okay. Yeah, usually military isn't like a secondary consideration. People usually like decide pretty early on because of, family or just, no other choice that like doing the military is a good choice for them. So that's interesting that you're just like, okay, I don't like where this trajectory of like working like these dead end jobs, these gig jobs, and you're just gonna go into the military and do that. So that's very, very interesting, very bold choice, I would say.
Yeah.
Do you regret it?
It's just a big step. No, I don't like. And like, there's parts of me that like regret it, obviously, because I'm injured now. But like, it's not. I wouldn't even say I completely regret it. I enjoyed all the memories and all the things that I got to do all overseas. Like getting to shake hands with a former, like a foreign prime minister and president. That's not something you get to do at all. Just being a civilian and everything. And not getting to drive tanks through the Polish woods. I mean, that's an amazing experience. It's super fun. And it's also high pressure because, like, little known thing is that they have lots of, like, wildlife protection stuff like that out there. So we were told if we run over any trees, that's $20,000 out of the U.S. military budget that they have to pay for to go and replant and do all this, that, and another. And that's the fine that we'll get for it.
Wow.
There's big pressure, but really cool stuff.
Okay. Interesting. So I'm very interested in the fact that like you happen to be relatively soft-spoken. Have you always been soft-spoken in that regard? And have you has your personal identification, like how you identify as an individual, has that kind of gone through any sort of evolution at all throughout your lifetime?
When it comes to like work life and everything like that, I mean, it was a little bit harder spoken because I had to be very determined and talking to all different types of people. And especially in the military, you really gotta you gotta yell at people. I was in charge of people, so I had to make people do push-ups and stuff. But I still wasn't ever like a yelling person. I hadn't really been since I was in my childhood. Only time I'd yell is when I'd personally let myself vent at video games, and that's when I'm yelling about something. And that's kind of a hard habit to break. I'm trying to break it now, but. But yeah, no, overall, like, my voice has been pretty soft all throughout my childhood and growing up, and just trying to make it through. As I said, even like through phone calls, people call me man because how soft-spoken I am, and that's always been a thing.
Has that been anything like, does that like Does that bug you at all?
Sorry,
No,
Mickey.
no, yeah, I saw you drifting a little bit, but like,
Yeah, it was like,
yeah. So has that been something that has bothered you at all, or is it something you just kind of embrace? Like, this is just who I am. You know, I lean more towards this way. It's not something you try to kind of resist at all.
I guess in a little bit, like, it really depended where I was, because there are a lot of different things that I grew up with and like experienced, and definitely sometimes I wish I would have been able to be a little bit harder and like harsher spoken, but at the same time, I really prefer just being the more of a gentle soul than a harsher and rougher one, because you know, you get to really interact and meet a lot of other people, and you don't come off as harsh, I guess. It's more people feel like they can be vulnerable around you. And it helps.
Yeah. I it's very funny that you say that, because I feel like I'm like, people say I'm very easy to talk to, but I'm from like the New Jersey, New York area, so you know how it is over there. You know how we talk, generally speaking. So you know, it's just very funny that you say that. Like, if you came from that neck of the woods, you moved to LA, which is even more like kind of it's even rougher over there in terms of like having to be determined and, you know who you are, know what you're about, even more so than in New York. So it's just very, very interesting. Like, you kind of grew up, you kind of were in those two different places, and you just evolved, or you kind of, your life just led you to being more of a gentle soul, which is, you know, I think that's really great. I think that's lovely. It's good to have like that sort of differing factors. People are different, and that's good. It's a positive thing. So yeah, because I like, you've shared quite a lot about like who you are and what you do and what your life has been like, and that's been really, really awesome to hear. So you said
I could drone on forever. Trust. I got a million stories.
Hell
All
yeah.
of them are crazy and chaotic. So absolutely.
I believe it. So you said you start doing VRChat while you were in the military. Is that about right?
Yes, I did. Oh my goodness. Crazy things to balance, I know, being in the military. And, you know, a lot of people don't think you get a lot of downtime, but when it's not like field ops or you're not deployed or anything like that, it's just like a regular work week. You work Monday through Friday. The only thing is that we go in at like, you know, like 6 o'clock to work with go and work out with each other. So it's only a real big difference, and balancing it in with VRChat was like, okay, well, not really going to be on during the weekdays. I'll see you guys during the weekends, because I'm not getting on VR during the weekday, and I gotta wake up at 5 a.m. So
right. So
yeah.
So around which era of VRChat would you say you came in through? I believe you said during COVID. Is that about right?
So I came in at the very tail end, technically, because I got home like at the very end of November, and like my birthday was right around the corner. You know, my birthday's December 2nd, so it was just right there. And I was like, okay, well, let me go check this out. I bought a whole new PC with all my deployment money. I bought a VR setup with the deployment money because I had seen VRChat while overseas, as I was saying earlier. And when that's all you see, you're like, oh, that looks so fun. And that was during Uganda Knuckles. You're seeing all those memes and everything popping up too from the years past, and people still continuing on the meme. And I was like, okay, yep, I'm gonna do that. So I got home, I bought one game for my PC to start off, and that was Escape from Tarkov. And I was like, okay, we're trying this. And then I was like, okay, now what's going to be the fun? Because I know Tarkov's just pain.
Yeah.
Oh, we can go play VRChat. So I got on VRChat, and I was stuck in quarantine, because when we came back in country, they forced us to quarantine anyhow. And I played I played one night of Tarkov, and then the next night I got on VRChat, and the game had me hooked ever since. Because I got on, and I was just hanging out and exploring worlds together. I ended up in a drinking night. I had a bottle of Jack Daniels, because when you get home, you want to celebrate, obviously. And I drank with the people there, and I got right into drinking games and all that stuff, hosting card games, and old drinking night era where everyone was just there to get as drunk as they could before passing out, I guess. So, kind of the tail end of COVID, but, still the era where everyone was inside their houses and just about to get out.
Okay, gotcha. All right. So, you kind of gave us a little bit of a preview of like where you essentially started off in VRChat, and so what was it about VRChat? What was it about the platform that really kind of struck you as novel and fun? Because you're someone who's been in the military, you've seen places, you've gone places, you've been in combat situations. Like what would make VRChat so different for someone who's like done as much as you have?
I'll say this, as someone else told me this in passing, is that VRChat is a great game for seeing humanity in some of its rawest forms, because yes, people put on masks, but a lot of the time it's to, be what they want to strive to be, or just let out a little bottle of energy that they need to. When someone's being chaotic, it's just the energy that they're wanting to portray. And of course, there are a lot of bad people too, but at the end, you still get to see humanity in its rawest forms. You're going to see someone being absolutely chaotic and sporadic because of the fact that they think that it's anonymous. They don't need to adjust how they act to be someone that they're not. So a lot of people strive to be who they want to be on this game, and I don't know, it was very motivational. And at the same time, you get to see all the friend groups and all the different communities and everything working together just to have a good time. And with the world filled with so much craziness, I was like, I really like being able to sit down and hang out with people that are going to be just as crazy and chaotic on this game as, other people want to be, but hold themselves back because they're afraid of awkward situations, I guess. If that makes sense.
Yeah. So you went from the craziness of the real world to the voluntary craziness of VRChat.
Exactly. It's like, here you have a good time. One bad thing IRL could ruin your whole day, like one bad thing here, you just block them, you move on, you go to a different instance, and then you get a whole new span of craziness or people or interactions or anything. It really makes days go by fast, and out of all the different things and the uniqueness that you can have. And on top of that, if I go out and I go out to a bar around here, I'm not going to go and meet somebody from the UK, or I'm not going to meet somebody from Australia or New Zealand or any other country. I'm just going to meet someone from this small town that I live in, and going to meet the same 10 people every time I go out to a bar. And I don't find that quite as intricate or interesting, to say the least. I mean, want to be able to have complex conversation, I guess.
That's fair. So you appreciate the vibrancy and the diversity of conversations that you can have from people across the world. So were you involved in communications, instant messenger or Discord or something like that? I don't know, were you talking to people from various places, or was VRChat your first chance or first opportunity of kind of meeting people from across different oceans and lines and such, countries and things?
VRChat was one of my later ones, my very first experience ever doing any of that, because as I said, I was a console gamer before everything, and I did a little bit of competitive when I was young, and I got to meet a lot of cool people then, but still at the same time, it was all very oriented and focused on one thing without, really expanding your horizon. So when you talk to people, the conversation still always ended up about that game or whatever. So inevitably, this is the first one that you could really explore the horizon, I guess, in the broadest sense of the term.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was VRChat your reasoning for discovering the term femboy?
I knew about femboys because of the fact I'd watched enough anime and everything beforehand. It's because I grew up with anime and I absolutely love anime, but VRChat definitely showed that there's a whole category for it. There's a whole different fan base. There's a whole different community that supports one another and everything. Which is really great. And then you also see people striving to push people to be femboys. Some of the funniest moments that you see is you get someone that's like all confident, and then like they're like, oh, I like that, that's cute. It's like, oh, you're gonna end up a femboy. And it's because like you're leaning this way instead of going the e-boy way. And inevitably you see people end up moving into that personality a little bit more and becoming more confident, and I guess the feminization of it, so, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that there's I mean, I guess the more time you've spent in VRChat, the more you know that there are types. There are like not stereotypes, but there's types of people in VRChat. There's people who like role play a lot. There's the people who are femboys. There's the furries. There are people who like to fly planes. They're all different kinds of groupings of people in on this platform. Do you think that that VRChat has the potential of revealing something about someone's personality that perhaps they didn't realize was there in the first place?
Oh yeah, and absolutely. Like I know quite a lot of people that like they don't know really how to process all the emotions that they come onto, or they feel very socially closeted, or they don't know how to fully express themselves. And the more time that they spend, of course, it can be influenced by other people. But I've seen some people develop their own uniqueness just from the game itself, and making and developing and setting so that way they can be set in their own to be confident with who they are. Because there are a lot of people that come on the game that aren't socially confident and struggle with conversation, but then, you know, eventually you'd see people grow into being able to do a whole lot more than struggle.
Yeah. And I guess in terms of like, you know, like how this space can kind of, I guess, change people. Do you feel that VRChat has changed you at all?
I think to some perspectives it has. It's definitely helped me appreciate more of like the femboy look. I was never really like appreciative with like how I look and everything like that, but it's helped me build up a little bit more confidence with that in general. You know, growing up and especially being in the military, you know, they're not gonna really approve of you being a femboy. But the irony is just that I meet more military femboys than almost any like, and more military e-boys. It is so funny. Like most of the femboys I know like have some military experience background, or they have like some knowledge about like lots of in-depth stuff about vehicles, guns, or any of that. And then it's like, you know, these guys are like some of the manliest stuff that you're gonna have conversations about, but then at the same time you'll talk to them about like thigh highs and like what they like to do in their free time, you know. Like, yeah, it's interesting to say the least.
That is pretty interesting. Like, do you think there's a way of identifying someone who like is like who could be a femboy, like, you know, like a gaydar type of deal, like something similar to that? Like, what is there something like that, do you think?
Oh yeah, I think that there is. It's not always 100%, you know. It's kind of hard to really depict because like trust, and with this game someone get one bad breakup and then they turn into like some like toxic gang monkey or something like that, and then it like they go down like the dark villain arc. But other than that, a lot of the times you can really kind of see which way someone's going to end up leaning by the just a couple interactions with some people. Sometimes it really depends on how closely you watch their actions, I guess. I've been pretty good at telling who's going to do this, that, and another, and I've also influenced a couple people to be like, yeah, maybe you should try this, because, you know, like this confident e-boy persona isn't working for you. Maybe you should look at trying to go the opposite way, and it's worked out for some people quite well. So yeah.
Okay. So, when it comes to like experimenting in VRChat, like what sort of like I guess what sort of experimenting have you seen people do or engage with? Because it seems like you've been very much kind of in the social spaces. You've been very much kind of hanging out in like publics, and I would assume that now it's mostly group publics, I would imagine, these days. They used to be just public instances. So
yeah.
yeah. So like how like when you say experimenting, like what does that mean for someone maybe who doesn't understand VRChat? Like when you like what does that look like experimenting with things?
I mean, in trying out different avatars to see how that they feel with you. I also know that a good chunk of people like end up like using substances, and then that also influences how your brain like end up feeling comfortable when you break it down, and like you go through a whole ego cycle where you're like, okay, this is what I thought, and then but this is where I'm actually happy. And this is where they're in constant trying, feeling out things, and like looking at how they interact with different people. I know quite a few different people that will just go in just to see how they can interact differently with different crowds of people. And again, like I know quite a few people that also like struggle like socially, where they're kind of quiet and closeted, but they try different things to see if they can pitch up a conversation with other random people and actually hold and maintain it. And it really helps and develop some of the characteristics that people need to be confident, which is really nice. Yeah.
So oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna keep rambling. So what was your question?
Okay. I was gonna say like So would you say that VRChat is perhaps the most ideal place for people to kind of, you know, like you said at the beginning, someone told you that VRChat is a way to see humanity in its most like unfiltered form. And I'm sure there were different words used, but along those lines, basically, that was essentially what to kind of paraphrase. So like do you think that VRChat is a healthy thing for people, and it's a positive, you know, way of people to kind of, you know, come to understand who they are as individuals?
I think it has the utility to be able to do those things. It's just that this game is also very harsh and rough too. If you do struggle with certain aspects and like understanding, and you can get very easily upset by something someone else says, that can be a very hard barrier for some people to cross over for the first part, especially with like identifying trolls and people that rage bait. Like that's the first hump, and then after you get that, like once you identify that people are just gonna come up to you just to talk smack because it's an online game, it is what it is. Treat it like a Facebook page where you're just in there, and when you join a group, you're just on a public Facebook page. It's going to be the closest thing, because you're going to get random people that you never know and never talked to before. They're going to talk bad to you, or they'll talk good to you. It's you have a not even or odd chance. It's never really leans. It's kind of hard to depict, but if you use it the right way, I absolutely think you can use the utility to build that confidence. It's just getting through the initial first processes and steps to get there.
Yeah. Okay. You mentioned that you weren't always, very like you didn't have the same build that you have now. So I'm kind of curious, like, how did you kind of like, was that something you deliberately started to kind of pursue in terms of having like the build that you have now, or was that simply a consequence of maybe your injury, or was that like I'm just kind of wanting to figure out, like, how did you kind of I guess understand that you prefer to have a slimmer build, let's say, compared to being in the military and such?
Yeah, well, while I was in the military, of course, I had to, be big, strong muscles. I had to lift a lot of heavy things, especially doing Bradley work, but inevitably, like, I came through, and I was skinnier growing up, but of course during the military built up and bulked up. But coming back through and experiencing this game and wanting to thrive, I guess, more towards leaning towards a femboy, because that's where I was more leaning to being comfortable. I was like, yeah, maybe I should probably go back with slimmer builds so that way I can match more of my look and my voice and my personality too, because I'm more of a support main than anything. So yeah. I don't want to just be labeled as, one of those golden retriever e-boys that ended up happening, where a lot of people are like the softer, caring, supportive type, but ultimately I'm more leaning on the support side, I guess.
Okay. Cool. All right. And I guess we can like hop back to VRChat in that regard. How would you describe the differences, if any, between like a public instance and a group public instance, in terms of like the kind of interactions you've been having, since you seem to be very, very knowledgeable about that? So I figured I'd pick your brain about that sort of thing. Since, I've been on VRChat for over 3 years myself, so like I obviously I have my own definition of that, but I'm curious, as someone who's most likely had a lot more interactions in those spaces than I have. What would you say?
I think it's come with some positives and some negatives in some of its retrospects. Is that the positives is that you are more likely to have better interaction if you go to groups that have moderation and have someone there making sure that someone isn't just coming in and saying slurs or whatever, because that does happen. I mean, social platform, it's always going to happen. But the con to it really is the fact that a lot of those people now, since it's easier to look at your group's numbers and grow in popularity, that's kind of like where people now grow in ego, and then you see people doing a lot of shady things to build numbers and make sure that they keep building numbers, and they won't get rid of people that are bad inside of their platform or their area because of how groups work. Mm-hmm. And it's just because they want to keep polarizing identities and whatnot inside their community. So it really comes to a dime. I've gone through a lot of good groups where I'm like, yeah, this is a good place to hang out for a little bit, and then something happens, and then someone's like, yeah, I'm not going to kick that person because I just want numbers in my group right now. And then you're like, oh, what the heck? Like, that person was being absolutely outrageous, harassing people, yada, 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 and they won't kick them. But, I mean, that's nature of the beast, I guess. But overall, I mean, publics are, I'd say, a little bit better moderated than they normally were. Before, it was the Wild West, where you had to run around person to person. Hey, can you make sure to vote to kick that person? They are being really bad. And kind of gets hard, but yeah.
Okay. What was your reaction to the advent of groups?
The invention of groups? I mean, I was excited for it. I knew a lot of like clubs and things like that were going to be around before the groups. They were all going to build their own, and then you're going to see that. But it was, I would say, probably the most interesting thing about them is watching the culture actually change between just normal VRChat publics to everything's group now, where we go in and it's like, okay, now we have people sitting at the front and they're making sure that people are the right age. We have instances that obviously have the age gate now, which is really nice. And it creates all those different personalities that you can find throughout all these groups. But yeah, and you get a lot of copy paste too. So you have a lot of options and lots of different things to do, I guess. But
do you think that groups have helped the ability of people, like I said, finding things to do? Do you think that's been more of a help than a hindrance? Because I do, like, I have heard that there are people who prefer the Wild West. They prefer how things used to be in VRChat, where you had to kind of discover, a group of friends, or like you had to discover like a place where people were gathering together, and it was kind of like, oh, this whole like you had to find it, you had to seek it out, and you had to essentially get lucky, basically. So I think people there's some people who preferred that back then as opposed to now. And as someone who has your own club, like what are your thoughts about the value that groups have brought to VRChat overall?
I think groups have made it a little bit easier for moderation, but other than that, like I do agree that it was a little bit more fun with finding people. It wasn't so straightforward and to the point. It was, you go on this adventure and you see what groups you run into, or you'd hear about it from a friend of a friend. This person heard about this and they saw this and they got invited to this Discord, so now they want you to come, and then you bring in more foot traffic. But now overall there's a greater competition for everything, because anyone can just go create group and then make a bunch of posts and then sit in an instance and say that it's a group instance, but it's just a moderated public, essentially, which is completely different from when you would just go to unmoderated publics, find people that were like, for us, drinking night was the best. We would always go there to find random people drinking and interact with people, so that way we could get drunk with them, they could drink with us, we all have a good time. But now it's not so much as that. I guess it's more, you just go, okay, well, what about this group? Maybe we should try out this group, because we can read all the details on them before you even get in the door. And, kind of makes it a little bit more harder.
Do you, with regards to groups, do you think that having everything spelled out for people in terms of, the group dynamic of like going to an event, like a certain group, do you think that makes it less likely for people to seek out those early experiences of just going into like a random public? Instead of like, do you think just people are much more comfortable going to like group publics now than, going to like a public? And we could just kind of talk even from like your personal perspective. Like, do you feel inclined to go to like a regular public instance nowadays when you can just go to a group public and have at least some sort of guarantee that you're going to have some manner of an experience? It's not just going to be like chaos and like how it used to be. Like, what are you thinking about that?
So, like, I personally been trying to go out to more groups, so that way I can show the community equal love for everything that, because a lot of the community supported us over the time, so I try to go out and do as much as I can to support other groups and everything. But I personally, in my experience, preferred the Wild West, per se. Some of my best memories were doing Wild West stuff, which we, like, old DGen days, we used to do what was called pub stomping, just like how they did in like Call of Duty. You'd go into matches and you'd have all the ranked people. Well, we do that with like all of our heaviest drinkers, and we'd go into like public lobbies. We would drink with people that say that they could drink a lot, and then once they, like, everyone there would like pass out from the games we'd play or get off to go to bed, we'd go to the next lobby, and then we'd do like 4 or 5 lobbies in a night, and then you'd meet hundreds of people doing that, because you're going in 40 plus people instances, rotating every single time. Now that you have groups, it's a little bit more regulated. You have staff that are going to make sure that you're like not crossing over their vibe, I guess to say. And you have to always worry about the idea of poaching now too. You can't just go out to a group public and then tell people about your group, or someone might get upset and then say, hey, you're taking our members, and it's like, they just asked a question. I was just letting them know. So,
Okay. So do you think that it's harder to do nowadays, like, than just have the Wild West experience? Does that still exist anymore?
I think to some extent it does, but not as prevalent because most of the people have gravitated towards those instances, and of course with good reasons, because the age gate like makes sure that you don't interact with kids, which is awesome. That is a great thing that they did add in, but same time, you're not going to get some of those very base level instances where you're just going to go in and then you're going to experience what it's like to be individuals all in one place instead of there's a cause to be here or a reason, so to say.
Got you. So it's much more like, you know where you're going in a group instance, and there's a reason for you to be there, rather than people just kind of going to a public and you're kind of rolling the dice at that point, more or less. Yeah. It's much more curated in that way.
Yeah, you can still go to like those popular instances like the Pug or a Black Cat. You can still go to those places and still experience some of the base level, but even then, a lot of the instances are still moderated. So like, you're not gonna get to hear some of the craziest things if you're trying to just experience what base level chaos is like, where you're going to hear someone say something crazy out of pocket in one hand, you're going to hear someone yelling and arguing about it in another, and then you're going to have other people flirting and cuddling in front of a mirror and the whole other side of the instance. You can still somewhat get it, but it's a lot more moderated now, and again, it's built for a cause to some reason. So yeah.
Got you. So, what are your thoughts about the how VRChat went about implementing the verified 18 setting? What did you think about that?
I think that a lot of people like had don't understand really, I guess, the keeping it locked behind the VRChat Plus. I think that the rolling out was interesting. We didn't even end up getting what are those like ticket things at the beginning. Like everyone else got in from all different types of walks of life, so almost all of our staff had it like right off the get-go. And we're like, okay, this is really nice, but now slowly waiting for it to implement to the other people and like trying to include the people that don't have VRChat Plus for events that are 18 plus verified and all that. It still makes it hard because you can't just pop an instance and then everyone get in, because some people didn't have the money to pay for VRChat Plus yet. And now we're slowly able to do it because you only had to pay for it once, and some people just had it paid for them or donated, and it helps out a lot. And I will say that keeping it locked behind VRChat Plus actually creates that boundary, I guess, further to try to prevent kids from trying to do it. I know that there's been a few instances where someone has verified past using through their like parent stuff, but that's just irresponsible parenting. In retrospect, because if your kid comes up to you, ask you, hey, can you take a picture of your face and look at this camera and like do all these crazy things and show them your ID for this online game, maybe you should look into it a little bit more than just go, yeah, sure, that's fine. I don't care. Do what you want, because there's obviously a reason that they're requesting you to have an 18 like ID. And I just wish that people would be a little bit better about it, but having that paywall right there makes it so that way a conversation has to happen, unless they just absolutely yoink someone's license ID and take photos of them while they're sleeping. And I don't think anyone's going to really go that crazy, but you never know. It is humanity after all, It gets kind of crazy out there.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I do think that it was, I think that was the intent of keeping it locked behind VRC Plus. To ensure that it would be hindered. There will be another barrier of entry for people who are under 18, and I think that was that was smart of them to do. Do you think it has changed anything? Do you think it has helped in any way, or like how about I ask this instead? How have you seen verified 18 affect your experiences, like as a club owner yourself? How have you seen it be effective or not that effective?
I've seen it effective for a couple different things. If you get 18 plus instances and stuff like that, there isn't as many trolls. because not as many trolls that create burner accounts are going to pay for VRChat Plus, and then on top of paying for VRChat Plus, ID verify, because they have to save that for their main accounts. So you're not going to see all the different spam accounts running in and, you know, being a visitor and then coming up and then like saying the craziest stuff to you, because you're in an 18 plus verified instance. They only have one ID that they can use. It's not something you can just use over and over again for multiple accounts. So I think that it does have a positive influence. I've seen it myself hold out a lot of people. Like if you go to an 18 plus black cat versus just a group public black cat, you're going to see like at least half the number of trolls cut out. It is actually pretty crazy. You still get a couple here and there, but it is not as much as you would normally see. And yeah, it's really a great benefit, I guess, for that thing specifically. And then of course it's also made the not safe for work side of VRChat also flourish a lot more, but that's its own category.
Right.
Really.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not really where you kind of identify, where you hang out.
I've been to quite a few, like I've been around those places, and like, you know, I think that everyone on VRChat like at some point gains that morbid curiosity of being like, what is the Gooner side like? And then you go over there and you're like, oh, this is kind of crazy. And then you get people that absolutely enjoy it and hang out and are there all the time, or you get people that will seldomly go there and enjoy it, or you know, I myself, like, I'll go over some of those instances just to hang out and have fun, and it's super. You have some very unique and interesting conversations when things like that are happening. And I've had lots of good memories, and we've always talked about like field trips where us as a friend group will go to like different places just to just to explore and see what happens in the curiosity of VRChat. And it was so funny. I seen a TikTok at one point. It was like, you got your first level, which is like black cats, and like going to the public worlds. All right, you get to like stage like 5, you're like a VRChat clubber, and then you go all the way down, and it was like, okay, so you get 1 step, 2 step to full body, 3 step all the way up to clover, and it goes, all right, now I'm gonna go stage 15, I'm going to Shangri-La. Don't go that far. Don't go that far.
That's too far. That is way too far. Yeah.
Too far.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh wow, yeah, that is. I mean, that is what makes VRChat so interesting as a platform. That people have banded together, created such very very interesting, like vibrant, diverse circles of people, and I think that's really what makes VRChat so compelling, like as a social experiment, like. And I do want to ask about your perception of VRChat. Do you think that it is a game, or is it something else?
So I absolutely, like, I can't say it enough that it feels more like a social page, like a social media page than anything, because you get groups, like you think about like how Tumblr used to be, or how Facebook is, where you get groups of people that all talk about certain different things in different public forums, and then people come in, and like some people come in and talk serious about it, other people completely bash the subject, and you develop all those things, and then at the same time you have games that you can go play. There's a whole sandbox part to it. If you want to treat it as a game, you don't have to interact with people. You can go play Breath of the Wild on this game. Like there's crazy worlds, there's phasmophobia, like you can do basically anything as long as someone's had the idea to do it. That's where you're getting the sandbox, but that's the game part. But where it's not is all the social aspects that really come into it: groups, clubs, raves, DJs, all those things. It's so in depth that like you can come onto this game. I've talked to my buddy Chris, and he loves raves, he loves DJs, he loves all that, and he didn't really think anything about VR until I told him about it, and then he was like, "What? There's like whole light shows and stuff like that. Some of the most beautiful worlds you can ever see." And again, but you're gonna have to deal with the social aspect to that scene, so I can't ever qualify it as just a game. It's more leaning on a social aspect because that's what really makes or breaks the difference for a lot of people.
Yeah, I agree. It's but I do find that people kind of I think people who are very much not particularly, I guess, integrated with how deep VRChat goes, and like how many layers there are, like you were talking about stages and such we were talking about before. Like I don't think there are a lot of people who still are not familiar with like just how far VRChat goes, and just how many layers there are to the experience that you can have here. And I think that people tend to look at it just like as a way of just having like a very like baseline experience. Like, I'm just here to like put on a mask and just have a good time and be a complete degenerate, and no one's gonna know. It's gonna be like going on like Club Penguin or Roblox, and it's just gonna be whatever it is, and no one gives a shit about anything. So like, I think there are some people who I would imagine that most people in VRChat are of that mind. And I think people like you and me are just where we've gone down to like a certain level of the experience of VRChat, and we can see it as something more than simply just a place that you get on to just talk to people or your friends. There's more to it than that. How do you and with that in mind, how do you have any thoughts about how people can ultimately get into VRChat and put on a mask and basically choose to, I know we kind of touched on this earlier a little bit when we were talking about this a bit, but I kind of want to go into a little bit more detail and see what else you think about just the value of having an authentic experience. Do you think that many people in VRChat are they don't want to go any deeper because perhaps they have their own personal reasons? Like, everything is very surface level with a lot of people in VRChat. That's something I noticed when I first got into it. So to kind of wrap up my thoughts into an actual question, do you think that VRChat is a place where the value of wearing a mask is a positive, or is it something that people can basically just kind of, if they want to be like a complete degenerate and just not even accept themselves for who they are, they want to be something completely different from who they are? Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing? Like, or rather than not even black and white in that regard, do you think it's a healthy thing for people to be able to just wear any mask they want?
Inevitably, like, I think it's gonna happen either way. You're gonna find people that are fake, but like eventually spend enough time and everything like that, a lot of the true colors come out, and man, you see it all over the place. Is that like people come in and enter, and it's like it's a joke at first, and we all sat at that level. Lots and lots of people. Like, I can't even name all the people that ended up getting mixed in like bad crowds eventually because of like gang monkeys, and like they're like, I can just put on this mask and just be this person where I'm gonna be this villain, and then slowly they make friends. After that, they want to hang out more. They want to do different things. Oh, okay, going to the same public instance over and over again has kind of gotten boring. Maybe we should go try to play a game. And then slowly, like, it just peels off the layer. A lot of people hold that mask and try to maintain it as far as they can, but it does slowly just chip away, and then you have what you end up being in this game, I guess, altogether by the end of it. So to try to answer it, it's definitely a gray area for if you can, but I just, at the end of it, I think that spend enough time, it's not going to really be there as prevalent as one might think, because you're going to know people that are going to see right past it.
Okay, yeah. Would you recommend VRChat to a newcomer? who doesn't know anything about the platform in 2025?
In 2025, I would say do a little bit of research before getting into the game, because you're going to see all walks of life. You're going to see everything, any crazy thing that you could possibly imagine. You could sit there and be talking about anything, really. And I have some crazy experiences, and I'm trying to remember some of them that it's okay, I gotta filter some of them, because some of them are outrageous to say the least. I've been at raves and stuff, and then we've talked about very real IRL things during one conversation, and then someone runs off and has a mental breakdown, and you have to run over there, and there's that whole deeper level. But again, if you come into it with just the base factor that this is more of a social game, and you want to develop yourself as a person, absolutely, I think that it can be a positive influence for you. But also, don't let it take over your life, because you have to understand that there's still a lot of good things. A lot of people will cycle in focus, see one part, and then once that one part falls apart or something like that, if someone finds a group and eventually the group falls apart, they're sitting there, I don't want to know what to do with the game anymore. I don't want to do anything, and they're all defeated. There's still a whole nother side of the game. I actually started doing events on Thursday where we just go out and explore worlds in other places, and it's just so that way people that always see one or two of the clubs that they're always around, they can rotate around and see that there's other things to do, like jet skiing, there's maps for hiking, there's lots of different stuff and lots of different people that you'll find in all these different places. So
yeah, 100%. It's something that I think people very often, when people think of VRChat, I think they see it only as it was back in 2019, 2020. And I think when even people in 2025, they think of VRChat, what they've heard about VRChat, it's all just degenerate trolling, all sorts of stuff that you see that is relatively very popular on YouTube, and it's so much more than that. Yeah. So, what is one thing that you particularly like or appreciate about VRChat? And it can't be the community, it can't be the people. And what is and what is one thing that you believe VRChat can improve upon?
So I believe that what I really love about this game is that every night will be different as long as you strive it to be. If you just go and do one thing over and over again, you're gonna get that repetition cycle, and then you can get bored. But if you don't, you could have an entire night of just experiencing one conversation to another. You could talk to Kermit the Frog about one thing, and then go talk to some beautiful, crazy looking model the next. Absolutely the uniqueness out of the interaction, and how chance of random it really can be is what I really find wonderful. And stuff to improve on, I definitely feel like that at the top needs a little bit better moderation for the overall badder parts of the community, and to open their eyes and realize that there's a lot of people out there in the community that want to help and want to do things to make sure that the community is safe. Of course, some people have alter objectives, but there's a lot of people that just want to make sure that this game is safe, not just for the younger people, but also for the adults that come on the game too, and all the people that spend time and have great times amongst the communities altogether. And I think that if the moderation would work a little bit better with some of the people that actually are constantly in the game and doing stuff, then I think it'd be better. I know that they came with the leadership program, but I've seen a couple different flaws and things like that have happened from that. So,
can you go into detail about that?
So there's like some groups that have been limelighted just out of sheer number, while they also have lots of shady history past. They have members that have done a lot of things that actually break the game's TOS, but because of the fact that they influence numbers, even if they're alternate bot accounts or anything like that, VRChat as a corporation has to look at it and go, okay, well, they got like 30,000 people in their group, so obviously they're doing something right. And then they give them more of a leniency or a better rap than someone else that's doing the exact same thing, which is kind of bad to see as a big moderation standpoint when you're showing biases to certain things, and letting people get away with things that they necessarily shouldn't because of influence. And that's where it gets sketchy. Stick drift.
So are you saying that the VRChat should be more aggressive or conscientious about who they're allowing into that particular program? Like, should they be doing deep dives into the groups that they're highlighting? Would you say?
I would definitely say that they should do deep dives into a lot of the different things for those. A lot of the people that I know that got invited, there are a lot of different groups that got invited to the leadership program. They ended up closing afterwards because of the fact that their staff team had some shady things happening or whatever. And it's absolutely nuts to know that they didn't do any check or anything. They're just like, oh, you got numbers. Yeah, come here. Or, we checked with this one other group that's super popular, but they just don't like people because these people have beef. There's a whole chain of events for that. But inevitably, they end up making the decisions because of just out of that one raw influence instead of deeper diving, in which really should be what ends up coming from all this, because there's a lot of depth to the game and a lot of different things and different reasonings, and I just don't think that they have a full understanding or concept or enough care for it quite yet, but I think that they definitely should.
So, if you could run the leadership program your way, what would you recommend would be the rubric or the standard that groups would have to meet in order to be a part of it, rather than just numbers?
I think that it comes overall with interaction, because anyone can create a group at this point, and I've actually seen this plenty of times where someone goes, okay, I'm creating a group. They come up with a name, they come up with a title, and then afterwards they just go create public lobbies, and then they create public lobbies and sit in them on desktop or whatever forever. And they won't let them close, and they'll just stay there. And then people, of course, will be there, and then they'll spam invite everybody to the group. But that isn't really raw interaction. Maybe going out to the places and, of course, because it's something that DGen even does before we partner with people. We're selective. We go out to places to make sure that they fit standards and requirements that we really want to see from other groups that we're interacting with, instead of just willy-nilly going, yeah, you have numbers, partner. Oh, you have this, partner. We have our base level requirements, but that's for an entire alternative reason. That's the number game isn't because we're looking for places that have numbers. We're just are large enough that we don't want to stomp on someone else's event. We want them to create their own foothold, their own personality, interact with their own community, and build that bond, so that way when we go and come in and interact with our loud group, we're not showing them a louder group and then they're like, oh, I'll just go with them instead, and then it just feels like we're poaching people, which I mentioned earlier ends up being a big problem for a lot of people.
Okay, all right. Okay. I think we can move into discussing DGen Club. I think we can move into talking about that. I want to think that I want to believe that there's a lot of ground we can cover there. So
Yeah, we've been around for a while.
yeah. So I'm very, very interested in talking about that. Maybe we can kind of connect some of the ideas that we had with VRChat to that. I'm sure there's some things that are kind of like interconnected with regards to how you run your club and the values and the standards that you all hold and share collectively. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into that. So let's start from the very beginning. How did this club come about, and like when did it start?
It's actually a fun little story. So I'd been hanging out and got on the game and developed some time, and I went straight into hosting, as I was saying earlier. And so I was like always hosting card games. I was always hosting this, that, and another. And I joined a group called Wolfgang, and I was a part of them for a little bit. But then they had their own falling out, and then I ended up going to the studio. And like amongst that time is when I met like Mercy. I met Spirit, I met Jack, I met a bunch of good friends, and we were always up all weekend long drinking. I'd done like some 54-hour benders and stuff like that, just being on the game. And we were like, okay, well, we're kind of tired of all of our friends dying. And funny enough, we had another night from one of my old friends from Wolfgang came in to drink with us at a Zombie Doll Lounge, which old group. And we were sitting there, and we went up to the stage after the event. It was like 6 o'clock in the morning or something like that, and my friend Mercy was standing there with me with Jack and Spirit, and I looked over and I saw my friend Possum dead, and I was like, I'm really tired of that being how the entirety of my night goes in VRChat. Like, why is everyone dead? I want to find people that aren't dead like you guys, like people that I'm gonna be at the end of the night, I know that person's still having a good time, and I can go join them to have a good time. So I was like, yeah, I really want to make a club, or it was a club at the time because groups weren't a thing. I wanted to make a club that's the standard, that like when you have people that you can always socially and reliably join on to have a good time, a network, so to say, of different things. And of course, since I was there with Mercy knows a bunch of things about tech, and was like, oh yeah, well, like you just do it, like I'll help you. And I was like, I don't know anything about tech. You put me in front of a computer, I'm breaking it. All right, so like it just it is how it is. But he's like, no, I'll help you. I'll get someone to help make the Discord and everything. So I created the Discord that night, and Spirit was like, yeah, I'm gonna help you with DJs. We're gonna set up a rave community inside of here. And this is where like the foundation really started getting laid down already. And then we had Jack, who was there, and he was like, okay, I want to do stuff with smoking, so that way people can enjoy blazing 420 all the way, and we all have great high conversations. And I was like, okay, that works together with that. I can work, Mercy can do the drinking stuff, and then I can just do the overall like bigger picture, looking it out. And that's when breaking it down, we did the roles based off of military, funny enough. So we had ownership, and then we had admins, which are squad leaders basically, and then you had your moderators, which are your little team leaders. And then underneath that, you have just your regular staff, which are people that all belong to a team dedicated for a different task. And it let us tackle being a group, well, a club that does everything, not just dance events or one thing or another. But dance events actually weren't even originally part of the plan. But planning to do raves and drinking events, and then initiations, which is a fun little thing that we ended up coming up with concepts to. And then we're like, okay, and if we're going to do initiations, we got to know that people can drink really heavy, and that's where the influence alcohol came in. And we were like, all right, so we're going to make 10 commandments. Mercy wrote up like 5 right off the bat, and then like we went and broke down and made the rest together, and added all their own little small things. And we had other friends that were also heavyweight alcoholics always on. They came in and were part of the meetings, and we're like, yeah, this sounds so fun, I can't wait to do all this stuff with you guys. And slowly but surely we built it all together until we ended up having our first events, which was a DJ event, and then an initiation right after that, which was really fun.
And when did this all begin?
So this began all the way in 2021. May 10th was the official start date of DGen, which is old now compared to a lot of the other places that it's like now new and upcoming. But we've existed for over 4 years now. It's going to be 5 after the next coming May, obviously. But that's kind of ancient, I guess, and what most people depict clubs and groups in this game as.
Yeah, I mean, time does flow differently in VR, and just like the sense of time is just much different here. Like one a month can feel like a year in some cases for some people. So I think it's very different of just how that happens in VR in terms of like how things exist for so long. So that is, I want to say that sounds like how, most, things start. You just kind of like, you have a group of people who are just like, okay, this sounds cool, and let's just start this thing out. Let's see what we can do, and maybe it'll go somewhere. So, yeah. What were your initial expectations, or let's say initial goals with starting a club?
On the entire initial part is making as many friends as we could. I mean, back then we had little games to see who could make friends with everyone in the lobby first, and like that was the goal. A-Dog and Mercy and Marky were always competing for it to see who could get it first, but they had drinking games for every person that they added. They're like, okay, so if you're adding me, I can't just add you, I have to finish a drink. You want to finish one with me? And it became a whole thing, and it built that culture that we are there to be friends with as many people as we can, and have a good time with everyone and anyone, and try to be that positive influence that at the end of the day, someone has a bad day, they can join and be like, yeah, let's have a good time. And it's really what we strive for, and it was really what my expectation was. I didn't care how really big or small it was. At that, I just wanted people to have a good time. It was the same feeling that a lot of people had from the group. It's just, we just want people to have a good time. And then eventually it just started blowing up on numbers, and we're like, okay, we passed the 100, 200, 500, okay, and now we're at 1,000. And then it just kept going, and it was like, okay, now more communities want to interact with you because of numbers. And that's when we ended up setting up our own standards, so that way we didn't have a bunch of people coming up to ask to use us in a way, and try to maintain and keep that positive vibe for as many people as we could.
Yeah, like the larger you get, the more important it is to have like very set in stone standards, so things can stay on target, and things don't kind of stray away from the whole idea of like, this is why we're here, this is the kind of people that we want to interact with, and we don't being able to not lose sight of that, I think, is very important. So I think that makes perfect sense of like going in that direction, and choosing to really kind of get things set in stone the larger you got, because like now I believe, if last I checked, wasn't it like, I think it's over 8,000 at this point?
No, in the group, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, in the group, yeah.
We have a little over 8,000 in the group. We have 4,000 like 600 and something. I think it's like 680 something right now in the Discord, and we still get people to come in and interact there too, so it's really great. So that way it doesn't feel like we always have to be obligated to be on the game. We actually have VCs that people play games, and we have our own event that actually happens in VCs. So
yeah, nice. So when it comes to starting a club, you kind of broke down the process of like kind of breaking up, delegating responsibility between a variety of people, like the people that you had helping you. When it comes to starting a club in VRChat, do you think that the method that you used to start DGen Club will still work today, or would it have to be done differently, do you think?
I think it really depends on the people that you meet and the people that you're with, because as much as that there is good, there are a lot of people that will cross you the moment that they get the chance, or something bad happens, and throw their hands up and run away, and then you're kind of left struggling, and that can be really the hard part. But if you build up that unique bond, I think that it's still a viable option. Is just doing exactly that. And we've actually seen other groups do similar things, and they blow up and they become popular. And then other ones we've seen do something similar. They start that growth, and then something happens, and that core group that made that group who it was eventually just falls apart, and then the group doesn't stay together because it's kind of hard once you lose one of the big contributing factors of why you're there.
So would you say that you've been I guess lucky in that regard to be in a situation where you've had very, very loyal people who have stayed in your corner and helped you continue to build this? 'Cause I'm assuming the people that helped you to establish the club are still with you today?
Some of them are. So life has been absolutely wild. Actually, most of the drinking staff that we had back in the day, like I mentioned A-Dog earlier, he doesn't work with us anymore because he's moved on. He's gotten a girlfriend now, and like he's living with them, and people's lives will continue to take strides forward. And that's when inevitably you'll watch people move on, or something happens. DGen's definitely come across its fair share of adversity to different situations that happen, but that happens when you cram a bunch of different people in together, and then you never know who's really going to like one another completely. You can't expect everyone to trust one another, but the value is that I was lucky for having a solid group of core people that always can rely on one another and are always there to make sure that they can support one another in times of need. And I count myself as extremely fortunate for that.
Yeah, it is very, very challenging to find people who are willing to stick with you along the way. And like you say, yeah, time does change things for people in a lot of ways, and people move on. But just to continue to maintain that and move into the future it's a very, very special thing to have that. Like I know from personal experience, both on the losing side of things and also on like the maintaining of things once kind of things change and people move on and that sort of thing. So yeah, definitely agree with you and relate on that level as well. So
yeah.
So what has been, well, let me say. Let's actually start. Yeah, I have a lot of questions. I'm kind of like organizing my thoughts. Do you like what are the things that DGen Club does? What do you do like as a whole? Like what do you like in this day and age? Like what do you all do?
So, I mean, for me personally, like I still handle a lot of the background stuff, but us as a group, we have dance events, which we do on like Saturdays, every Saturday, or we try to do it every Saturday. There's a dance event. And then Wednesdays, we have a drinking social / DJ event where we have DJs, but it's lots of drinking, lots of social activity, lots of people crammed into a world yapping and talking to one another about different various things, all while listening to music. We have our Tuesday event, which is a Toke Tuesday, so it's a smoking event in VC. They normally play like Jackbox. They were playing GeoGuessr this last one, and then they had to take a hit every time that they missed the location by a different country or whatever. And then we have Thursday events, which are, I know I'm kind of going all over the week there, but Thursdays are the event that I personally do, and that one's just a world hopping event style thing. It's not a super big one, but it's mostly just friends just getting on and going world to world to see VRChat for VRChat, and that's that sandbox social experiment that we all know and love it is. So we try to go out to places that we've never been before, and we get to different unique experiences then and there. And we had a couple weeks where we did even hiking and stuff. It was super fun and really neat to do together. I think so. That was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Fridays, we're talking about trying to bring back just crusading together, which is actually an old role that we had where we used to just grab a bunch of people and then we'd take them all to an event and show up and party with the people that were there.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's our schedule right now.
Nice. It's very, very vibrant. A lot of opportunities to spend time and hang out with people. And I think you need that kind of diversity when you have a group as large as yours. So, like, how did you go about growing your just the entire thing as a whole? I imagine that was, you said you wanted to make as many friends as possible. So, how did you go about doing that, and how did your fellow team leaders go about doing that as well?
So, I mean, a lot of that comes back to what I was saying, like challenging an entire, challenge between 3-4 people to go and make friends with everyone in the lobby. Eventually, you're going to get your guys' names out there, especially when we were doing it every one time on a drinking night. Of course, you're going to find people drinking there because people are drinking. It's a drinking night. And we'd show up there. I would friend people, but my biggest strength was always hosting. Card games and own games. I've made my own little card games. I've modified some little card games and I've made it worse. And people also know me for my exceptional tolerance for alcohol. So when you get all those things combined and you get a loud, rambunctious group going into a drinking night and people are drunk, they're going to gravitate towards the other people that are being loud and drunk and, get into all of those types of chaos together, and it ends up creating a fun vibe that a lot of people ended up wanting to tag along to. And eventually we had to move from doing more of those to doing more of like our own venues, our own places, because we were bringing too many people to other places, and it was kind of like defeating some of the morale of them, because when you get a group that comes in and brings 20 people to an event when it was like at 30, and now they're looking at like a 50 to 70 plus queue, because when you join with 20 people, all their friends join, and then you have a full instance, and then it looks very populated, and then once that group leaves, it kind of defeats the morale of all the others people that were in there. So finding that balance is very important, I think, but it's really helped us with a lot of our growth, was just being the loud, rambunctious ones out in public and making sure that everyone was having a good time and trying to keep drama out as much as we possibly could.
Okay. What has been the most kind of straightforward portion about running a club in VRChat? What has been like the easiest, most like it just kind of fell into place very, very easily? And then what was the most challenging aspect of having a club in VRChat?
That's a good question. So the easiest one, I'll be honest, is just initiations. I say easy, but then again, it's also like trying to herd a bunch of like very drunk cattle. Like, it's kind of everywhere. Like, everyone's everywhere. You're running around like, hey, I need you to come over here. We're doing this next part. Please pay attention. Everyone's loud and yelling, but at the same time, that's the easier part because everyone's there for one concise thing, and all you have to do is like, hey, if you're doing this, just go to this part next. We're gonna do that, and then everyone just has a good time, and you don't really get too many complaints about it. Every once in a while, it'll be like, oh, I didn't drink as hard as this one, or that and another, and it's like, well, that just defeats the purpose. We're here for fun. But then I guess for the challenging side, probably has to be the dance community as a whole. Overall setting up, there was lots of different things. Like, even me and Mercy, we had no expertise in how dance events work, how any of that goes. We just go there every once in a while and see some people dance. We're like, that's really cool, but not our stuff, because we just want to get drunk. And we were like, okay. Someone came in and was like, hey, we really want to like do dance events, and I think it'd be fun for DGen to do dance events. We're like, well, I can't like operate that. They can't operate it. They're like, oh, I'll just do all this like stuff and I'll set it all up. And then eventually that person ended up going on a hiatus and it never got set up. And then funny enough, we initiated somebody. They really loved the vibe of the drunk chaos that we brought and wanted to continue to build that. And inevitably that ended up being Blue, and we had Blue, what's the word? Solidified and brought a bunch of people together who ended up making the first dance captains, and they were all very good dancers. And keeping that, and then getting our own version of how we were going to want the dance events to work, and then creating your own identity based and not trying to be a cookie cutter copy paste of everything else ended up being its own challenge. And then getting people through the doors, struggling with trying to make sure people want to be in an optimized avatar, because people hate optimized avatars in this game. It is absolute hatred, and people just outright won't come to your events because of seeing that. So ends up being the real challenge. And then of course there's also divas, and you could go on that forever, and that's characters being characters, and letting one thing go to another, and then you have a whole big situation on your hands and ends up crumbling, or this, that, and another. But then continue to struggle for a little bit, where, like, you know, we had the a move up because we realized how important the dance side had become for DGen, and we had Blue eventually come up to ownership, but then his life ended up taking him down a separate path. And thankfully, I mean, we had James, and we've had Bean, we've had a bunch, Aku. There's so many people that have actually helped support the dance side now that it's very nice, but it always comes with its own maintenance, and I think that one requires the most out of everything.
So you're saying that initiations are the easiest, and establishing the dance sector has been the most challenging?
Yeah, I think definitely.
Okay.
I know it was supposed to be a little straightforward, but I know it's a little bit of a rant. It's kind of a little complex.
No. I mean, that's totally fine. Like, complexity is good. Like, if it's not straightforward, then that's fine. That's totally okay. Totally reasonable. All right. So running a club in VRChat. Have you ever run a club IRL before?
Never IRL. The most I did was a clan when I did competitive in Call of Duty. It was like after that we were like, we wanted to become more chill gamers, and then I just ran a clan and we did clan war stuff, and that was it. That was my only experience before all this. And then I was a host for Wolfgang, and then I was a host for St. Sean Studios. And those two places kind of taught me some of the things that I needed to know. St. Sean Studios taught me a lot of the things I needed to know for events, how to run events, how to book DJs, set up lineups, get everything like that set up. But inevitably that ended up getting taken over by Spirit anyhow. And then the drinking part was just me hosting all the time for Wolfgang. I hosted for almost all of their beginning events. So I just had all that knowledge just from those two things, and building that vast friendship really helped out.
Okay. Oh, what platforms were they on? Were those VRChat or something else?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those were both VRChat. They're just the small little chapters that I had before the big one that has now been DGen.
Got you. Okay. What is the most challenging aspect of essentially owning a club?
Quite a few things. I will say that the mentality of having to put up with everything that comes with it. A lot of people depict it as like, oh, it's gonna be a great popularity boost. A lot of people just like do it for those reasons, but in reality, it's gonna come with things that you're not gonna want to be like known for or something like that, because like it is how it is. You'll have to make hard choices. You'll have to ban certain individuals from your community for doing bad things, even if they were a prominent member. and that's where it struggles. And you'll constantly, like, how long we've been open, it's been a struggle for me mentally, out of like dealing with friends constantly cycling in and out, because when you watch people move on, obviously you can't reach out because you have to continue to maintain and do all the things that are required to hold a group together. So you can't always spend all that time that you want maintaining every different friendship that you have, because you have to make sure that new people come in and new people understand, and that it continues to push down the train and the vibe that you have. And making those difficult decisions is very taxing on people's mental health, and you also see a lot of the bad. And as I can explain it in the simplest terms, being a club owner really comes down to being like a guidance counselor for a high school, because you're constantly listening to he said, she said. Eventually you'll get like little evidences, but you have to still sit down and talk to people. And then even if you don't sit down and talk to them, you have to explain to their like friends that are going to ask the questions, hey, why was this person gotten rid of, or why were they essentially expelled from the group, or anything like that. And it's a never-ending cycle, and you'll always be dealing with something. As much as you don't want drama to be there, when people are involved with each other in such a close setting, eventually someone's going to say something else to upset someone, and you have to handle it. And constantly having to handle that never-ending revolving door of issues is inevitably where it becomes a struggle for a lot of places, because it demotivates a lot of people.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can definitely imagine. I've been in a number of instances where people are just being extremely obnoxious and just obscene, and like in their conduct. Like it's very, very frustrating when people are just they just choose to be the worst kinds of people, like just because they can. To whatever degree. It's very, very, very discouraging in a lot of cases. But I know there's a lot of there. I would imagine there's much more positive. Or there's way more pros than cons, I would imagine. And yeah. For the most part. yeah.
You get those weeks or those months that like it's like, oh, it's just a rut of this, that, or another. Nothing's going really well for you, or something's a little bit of a struggle. But then you get on and you go to your event, and then you see all those people, and you see everyone having a good time, and all the jokes and all the fun, and everyone just overall having smiling faces, and that's inevitably what keeps on pushing to want to continue to make it better, and not just give up on what you want to do.
And so how do you manage all of that? Like, how do you maintain your own mental health and with regards to, running a club that does require such attention to, the very social and the very conflict, your conflict resolution. You're doing all that for this sort of thing, as well as like running your own event on top of that. So, like, how do you manage? How do you kind of balance all that out with your life and just who you are as a person?
It does take a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort, and I mean, like, there's all types of the night that I'll get like calls, or I'll have to go and like handle things, and it's like kind of being on constant call for different stuff, which can become over encumbersome. But the best like thing I've ever found about it is delegating and finding some form of stress relief that you can get to put a smile on your face, something that you're going to enjoy by yourself, or just let you rant a little bit. As I mentioned earlier, I play like shooters and stuff, and yeah, I'll get mad at them, I'll yell at them, but inevitably that's me yelling at a game. I know I'm yelling at just a game, but I'm getting all that frustration. Like when I hear someone do something stupid and I want to yell at them, I don't yell at them. I just go and play a game later, and then I'm like, okay, this game is stupid, and then I'm like, okay, that's all my frustration out. I'm good. I'm chilling, and then I can keep on moving on. But also getting to talk to friends and be like, hey, this anonymous person that I'm not going to say their name, they're a goober, and they keep on making it hard for me. I'm sorry you got to deal with that, and that's all I need. And it's like, yeah, I'm good. Thanks, I appreciate it. Or sometimes I'll ask for opinions on an anonymous level, being like, hey, if this situation happens, what do you think I should do? And then it's like, now I don't feel so guilty that I have someone else understanding that I come to a decision for a reason.
Yeah. It's always good to have people to talk to when you are kind of managing a whole lot on your own. Having people that you can trust and kind of help consult you in your decision making can go a long way for sure. Like even myself as a content creator, like I have like at least 1 to 2 people that I can kind of go to talk to if I ever need to really know if I'm doing the right thing, if I'm making the right decision on a certain matter. Yeah.
And it's great because of how vast the community is and how many people that I've gotten to meet and interact with and become very close to. I have different people who all have different varying opinions and all different varying personalities, which lets me get a bigger census of what everyone's opinion is going to be versus just one other person. But I really couldn't have come as far as I have without the help of Mercy, who's one of my co-owners. You got James, also helps. They deal with a lot of the back end stuff too, and stuff that before it even gets to me gets handled through them, or I can ask them very good questions and they'll help out. Or I can go to any of the admins and I'll also ask, hey, what do you guys think about this? No go, what's your opinion? And they help out. It is super amazing to have a network of people that are just astonishing to keep helping.
Yeah, 100%. So, do you make all the decisions? I know you have a team that you have delegating under you. So but does the final choice of most things go through you? Does everything kind of at the end of the day go through you, or is it you trust other people to do that?
So for the most part, I mean, we vote on a lot of our different things, but ultimately, some of the bigger choices, the overall, where we're heading, the direction, what we want to continue to influence, or our say with partners and stuff, that ends up, it still comes to a vote, but ultimately it comes down to the decision of the ownership. And right now I'm one of the 3 owners, but I created it so they kind of just listen to what my opinion matters the most, because they all have different obligations also moving through all of their stuff. So wouldn't say make every decision, because some of the dance section stuff I don't know how this is going to affect it, because I don't understand how some of this stuff works, because that's not what my forte is. I am a social bug. I can't sit on a couch in one position for an hour and a half or an hour now. And so they make, the people that we've designated make choices for the dancers and all those things, which is Aku and Bean currently, which are the 2 people that make those choices for the dance section, and James also overseeing and making sure that the dance section works good, because the way we have it, everyone has their own little assignments, and I just kind of overall oversee all. Mercy kind of oversees all with me, but more focuses on the finance part and making sure that we have money for maps, or helping me with tech stuff. Same, James also helps with tech stuff. They're both super tech savvy. And then other people all just the other sections end up coming to me. Smoking section, the drinking section, and the DJ section end up coming to me for most of the opinions. But dance, it's its own nature, I guess.
Gotcha. So you brought up a very interesting point in that explanation, that I had no idea that you all were actually making any matter of income for what you're doing.
Oh, so, well, we don't make any income specifically for us. All the money just goes right back into the club because they have a Patreon for it. We're actually working on revamping it. We wanted to do that. I just got to work with the staff this next coming week. We're going to be revamping the Patreon. It's not really a Patreon. It's like a Discord Patreon. It's in the Discord itself. It's it's kind of hard to explain.
Memberships.
But
yeah.
the memberships.
Yeah.
So those all give you unique things, and we're going to be revamping them so that way they work a little bit better, because we were having a hard time keeping up with some of the obligations, like having a picture drawn by Jack, which was a ghost, and like that's kind of hard because some people will just want to donate just to get to the VIP part, so they don't want all the additional stuff. So then we're not just tracking people down for it and figuring out what's what. So we're gonna be setting up the process that's a little bit better, but all the money that we've had just goes straight back into it via like giveaways or maps or additions to maps, assets that we need for making the maps better, all those things. Yeah, it's the only income that's really in the group, but I don't want to have to deal with it. And apparently with the membership stuff, it comes out with taxes, and geez Louise, I'm gonna let the person who knows what they're doing handle that.
Of course. Yeah, I was kind of curious about that. I was actually just surprised that there was any manner of like income happening. So I guess it was like it's through Discord, like you said. So that does make a lot more sense, that people are just kind of joining through Discord and they're getting, benefits from that. And you don't know anything like in detail about that personally, like.
So I know that I know about the different tiers. I know the whole process about how we made them, and it took us a little bit.
Yeah.
And
can you talk a bit about that?
So the membership program ended up coming out, I think, like 2 or 3 years ago, unless you set your prices and then what you get for each one, and then it also like integrates really well with like roles, so that's very nice, because whenever they donate, it instantly goes and gives them a role, and they set it up so that way they have their own special channel, they get their own little area where they can put a quote, and then we put the quote on a board and everything like that, as long as they put it in there. And then for people that were doing it for like 6 months, we were having it so that they got their own Easter eggs. I think we're actually going to get rid of that one because it was getting very hard to maintain with us making more and more new maps, and we were having to go back and like talk to like 10-15 different people. Hey, what did you want your Easter egg to be? And so that inevitably is a challenge, because we also don't want to show favoritism for a lot of the things too, because some people, we've been against it forever about people getting like special unique independent roles, and I think there's only like one in the entire Discord, and it was out of just someone that came in and did a buttload of different things but never wanted to officially be staff, so we end up giving it to them for that reason. Which is tuxedo.
Okay, nice. All right, so let me ask you about the portion about basically doing initiations. Like what
my favorite part.
Yeah. So yeah, what are initiations, and what actually goes into that sort of thing?
So initiations, we have actually 2 different types of initiations now. So we actually have one for smoking, in which they join a VC, and then they take an edible, and then they have to smoke during certain portions. Different games that they all have to do and participate in, and you maintain and do it all at the same time. That's how the smoking one goes. Drinking is very similar, but drinking has more of a reputation, I guess, to say to it. Some of the most hardcore people drinking in VRChat still won't come and do it with how we do ours, because it's rough. I'm not gonna say it's an easy one by any means. And so there's 3 different types, 3 different roles you can initiate for through drinking inside DGen. And each and every one of them has a different time set, and then different things that they want to focus on. So the first one is their very base level. It's only for a role inside the Discord, which all of them are technically only for a role in the Discord. But they also have little small perks that you get. The Believer of the Bottle is the very first one, which, funny enough, we have commandments about alcoholism. So since we have commandments about alcoholism, we based off of like a cult/church, we're not a cult, type vibe. And we inaugurate people, I don't think that's the right word, but we initiate people into it by drinking with them for 3 hours for Believer the Bottle. And that one, it's just 3 hours of drinking, and we all have to drink together. We maintain games. That one has some little rougher parts, like to go through a brief schedule, what it's supposed to be like. We go through commandments first, and then we go play a game I made called Ride the Hog, which is a very nasty version of Speed Bump. And then after that, we go down to Never Have I Ever, in which there's specific rules for that one. All these games have very heavy drinking rules, and I can't stress that enough. They're very heavy drinking rules. We get people that come in, I'm the heaviest weight of all my friends, and then they'll black out through the halfway point. So then after Never Have I Ever is the Gauntlet. The Gauntlet is a shot portion, so you just have a bottle in hand and you just take swigs every time you hear the number 1, and it eventually just goes until whoever's doing or running that portion of it gets bored and is tired of alcohol, the flavor of straight alcohol. And then after that portion, it also specifically does that so that way when your head goes back, you get oxygen in your brain. It makes you feel the alcohol a little bit more. There's a whole science to it. I'm perfecting alcoholism bit by bit, as my friend Durjax would say. He got it to a meetup, and we had to carry him into bed. But he's like, I've never been that drunk, and I get that all the time. It's like, I've never been that drunk before until I drank with you. I was like, yep, I just know how to do it to you. But then after the Gauntlet, of course, there's small little 5-10 minute bathroom breaks in between. And then after the Gauntlet, we go and play like Ride the Bus, which is a shorter version of Ride the Hog. It's the after game of Shitty. It's just like 5 cards that you ask the series of questions for. All these things, super easy. Until you get to that part where you're waterfalling the face value of all the cards that you flip over. So if like you get 3 cards, right, and they're all 10, you're doing like a 30-second waterfall. So it gets a little rough on on people. And then after that, if there's enough time for another game, we'll either do one of the initiators mini games, which they have a Fibonacci's waterfall. I don't think I'm pronouncing that right. But that's Alice's thing where he just goes, basically 1 + 1 is 2. Okay, so we take 2. Oh, 2 + 2 is 4. And then just consistently does it until he gets to a number. And then he's just like, yeah, okay, we just waterfalled for this long. We're good. And then inevitably we finish that and go to the last part, which is 3 drinking songs back to back. And the very last one, we always have done it around the world, and there's actually a little fun history thing for around the world, is it wasn't originally the very first thing for initiation, but it came out to be the 3rd initiation that we ended up adding it on, and it was because of the fact that I added it on because Mercy and A-Dog were yapping too much during a drinking song. So eventually became a rule that if you're caught talking or you stop spinning and drinking during the entire duration of Around the World, the song restarts and you have to start all over. So it's pretty difficult. And that's just for the 3-hour one. Don't really have a high passing rate for that one. Like out of most of the people that show up, maybe we'll get like 40% of the people that show up actually be able to complete it, if that. And that's bringing in the good nights where everyone had passed because they knew what was coming. Other times, absolutely not. They're gonna fall flop. There's a lot of people that just wandered in. Oh, I want to do this, and then after the first game, they're like, "You guys are crazy." No.
yeah, I bet. So like, but, go ahead. Keep going.
Well, and so then we have another one, which is the 9 hours, which is even longer. Of course, you still have to do your 3 hours and then 6 hours after that. And then we're drinking from at the time of where a normal initiation time period was 1 to like 10 a.m. technically on Sunday morning. And that was super late. And like we're trying to fix and schedule it a little bit better. We were just not trying to step on the dance event, so now we might move it to Friday so that way Fridays work a little bit better. But the 9 hours, it's all that, and then we go play putt-putt, and putt-putt's really nasty because we drink the total score at the end of each hole.
Oh my
So then like by the end
gosh.
of the next hole you're doing like 120-second waterfall if you're really bad at mini golf, which I am. Yeah, and then after that, it's kind of the social drinking phase where you kind of just go out and you ask people, hey, we're drinking. You want to drink with us? Sure. All right, let's drink. How much do you want to drink? 5-second waterfall? Sounds good. We drink. And then the last one, it's kind of a duration test. Oh, and the other two have to be done with 35% or higher. It's a requirement the whole time, 35% or higher. And mixed drinks, that part doesn't really matter unless you're doing the gauntlet part, which, as I said, is straight. But 35% or higher is the base requirement. So that way we know everyone's at the very least drinking some sort of concoction that's similar. Because trying to actually dictate what everyone drinks in VRChat is a nightmare. Yeah. But then the 24 hours is like our trial into the initiator role, and it was actually brought to us because people kept on asking. They're like, I want to do like the staff role, but I don't want to be staff. And I was like, well, there's no role for that, so what am I gonna do? And then eventually we ended up making a role specifically, and that one's called Missionary of the Bottle, and those are the people that we know are gonna be up at like 11 a.m. still drinking from the previous day, and they're running around drinking with somebody still. And that's why we call them the missionaries, because they're spreading the influence of alcohol no matter the time, place, you know.
Okay.
So
wow. I mean, how long did it take you to come up with like all of those what are essentially activities / games / you know, yeah, how long did it take you to come up with all that?
It took months. Like the commandments and stuff like that, we came up with them in the first couple of days because we knew that we were going to want to have that drinking section and everything. Absolutely, we knew that we wanted to have that, so that was the easy part. But how it initially started versus how it is now is honestly just trial and error. It's going and being like, okay, does people have more of a good time doing this? Okay, this is developing that partial and getting different ideas where like Ride the Hog is a group effort game, so everyone has to yell over one another, and it kind of creates like that bond where everyone's trying to work together, but at the same time they're working against one another because oh shut up, I got it, and then you hear someone else call out the answer and they're like, gosh dang it, and they have a whole grudge match against people, and then you see that camaraderie be built because they're like, you made us drink, God. Yeah, the whole thing. And same thing for all the other parts is eventually you see the parts where it builds character between people, and that's why it inevitably got added in. The whole around the world, why it restarted was because they talked, and then I saw that they didn't talk afterwards, but they had a good time and they hated me afterwards, and I was like, I did my job. So let's continue that tradition, and it stayed a tradition from ever since then. And now if you go towards anybody that drinks with DGen and you play around the world, it's like a traumatic response. People like start reaching for a bottle. No, what? Wait. We've had a couple of people be like, yeah, I was in a grocery store and I heard it on the little radio and I started freaking out. I was like, where's my drink? And yeah, it's just that engraved with some people.
I see. Like, honestly, like I've definitely like obviously we all know that you know there is a very strong drinking culture in VRChat, and that's something that like anyone who's been in VRChat for a long time knows this. Even for like even a couple of months, I think people generally figure that out pretty quickly. That it's pretty common for people to indulge and to enjoy themselves. You know. Drinking, you know, debauchery, whatever you want to get yourself into, you can really enjoy yourself quite a lot in VRChat. So like there have been, you know, with all of like the things that you all are doing, and I can definitely see that there is definitely an intent for building like relationships, building connections with people, like, and like the drinking is merely a way of building connections with the people who are there, so that there's like you're having like an experience that, you know, ultimately you can remember, and that brings people together. It makes friendships, you know, all sorts of different things, and I can see I can see that is the intent. But given that VRChat has had a lot of like issues with drinking in the past, there was like a huge like I think VRChat ended up in the news. I want to say like in it was like 2023, 2024. I think it was like 2023. I think like late 2023.
Yeah.
They ended up in the news about like just like VRChat is just like people just drink all the time there. And I think also there was something recently also in the news of like, people just hang on a VRChat to drink and RP or whatever. So like how do you and DGen Club ultimately combat that perception?
It's out of the factor that like I don't think that we really combat it too much, but we do have things that we try to preserve to be safe. We don't make it so that way people always have to drink. It's not a requirement. If people aren't drinking and they want to enjoy and join on the vibe and like the fun and just go play the games that we have, and you hear people are drinking, even when we're out there and our staff are out there and we say cheers, it's like, oh, you're not drinking? Well, then just take a drink of water. Or I'll run up and be like, oh, you're not drinking? I'll take one for you. Or any of our staff will be like, we're going to take one for you. We'll take that extra one. Don't you worry about it. It's actually one of the commandments that we have for it. And I'll go, you don't have water? You don't have anything near you? Just take a deep breath of fresh air for me. Take a breath and I'll drink. That's it. But showing them that like other people, you don't have to drink to have a good time. Just being around the chaos is a lot for a lot of people, and a lot of times people feel like, oh, I can't be there unless I'm drinking too, because it feels like it's the pressure. But it's like, you really don't. You can be there, you can vibe. There's been times where I've showed up and I haven't drank. I just go there to vibe, hang out, check out, and see how everyone's going, and what direction, and see the craziness, because you're still going to get to see people doing drunk shenanigans just without you having to worry about being the drunk shenaniganer.
Without being the initiator of it. Yeah.
Exactly. So you still get all the fun stories and you get all those things, and you don't have to drink to get to that point. But we also like make sure that we have safety people in the background too, to make sure that people aren't doing things that they shouldn't, and of course pushing themselves past the limits in which a lot of people try to push past, which is thankful. At least.
Okay. And I think that's really, really good to know that you have staff on hand to really kind of look out for the people who are hanging out in your instances and going to DGen Club's events. So, like, during initiations, how does one kind of go through that without, still with the understanding that it's meant to be not an obligation, but something that's meant to be fun and enjoyable, and ultimately should be done within a safe or some manner of safety context, like even initiations. Like, how is that kind of implemented for initiations?
So normally at the beginning of an initiation, as long as it's that we have one of the people with the role, the role inside the server is actually called a Cleric of Knee, which there's only a few people that were selected and designated for it, and it's because of the fact that we can trust that person, that ultimately someone has a seizure, someone has something, they're there to step in and try to get them out of their headset, to try to get them the assistance and aid that they need, and or getting in contact with someone's list of people that they can get to get them they need. So for initiations, we iterate. We're like, hey, you see that person over there? If you feel sick, or you like start pushing it, and they're gonna be watching this whole time, and we see you like throwing up or anything like that, they're gonna come check on you, and you get like one time where it's like, okay, I just need to take a break and like take a minute, and if not, like if you have to take another one, then it's just like, okay, I understand, just come back and try again. There's no problem with trying again. We're always going to be doing this. We're always going to be having fun doing it. It's always going to be the same thing. So if you feel sick, don't feel obligated to continue. Don't push yourself. Don't hurt yourself. Of course, you're going to hear like people rag on each other that they know can drink amongst one another, but It's generally how it comes with the pressure, but there's always someone paying attention. I myself, like, I'm looking out and listening for people. Like, it comes off that I'm trying to kill people a lot of the time because of how rough I make initiations, but in retrospect, I'm always watching and making sure, hey, did that person just throw up? Okay, hey, I know that you're discussing something. Can you please go take care of them while I'm continuing this initiation? Keep me updated on their health. And that way we're always staying on top of it, and then, you know, messaging the people afterwards, like the next day, to make sure that they got in bed, everything all right, they weren't too messed up, and then, you know, creating that point of contact.
So it sounds like there is a kind of a step-by-step process in which, you know, you're looking out for people. There's certain limitations by which, you know, certain steps are taken in the safety process throughout the whole process of initiations, and, you know, including the events that you take part in and such. Is that about right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and we think it's very important because, like, we've had bad experiences. We've had people that get alcohol poisoning. We've had people go to the hospital from alcohol poisoning, and that's really what pushed the creation of that Clerics of Knee role, which is, it's funny, it's a play on the words for the Knights of Knee, but we just did Clerics of Knee because, you know, the whole cult vibe. Right. But they make sure that they do their part, and a lot of them are wonderful and know a lot of different things about medical stuff, so it really helps out, especially even like when you have them at DJ events and someone with epilepsy ends up having a seizure from all the lights. Or, you know, we also all wear avatars with all the little shinies on it, and someone shows an avatar at the wrong time, it can create problems for certain people, and we've had a couple of those instances. And VRChat can double up on that, where some people just go, you're being cringe, take off your headset. And again, it's not prevalent in the community, but when you're out in public and stuff like that,
right,
that people aren't as understanding, hey, yeah, just take off your headset, go be alone while you're struggling. It doesn't really work out as great as some people think, so you have other people that will clear out the room. Hey, give me a second, I'm gonna take this person, they'll talk through them, get through the whole process, and eventually the person will come back and have a good time, and that's the most important thing.
Okay. And after initiations, what happens? Like, you said the reward of initiations is a role in the Discord, but what is that? Simply bragging rights? Is it, or is it to get into DGen Club?
No, it's mostly for just bragging rights, because, like, anyone can join DGen and be a part of the rambunctiousness. But the most important, I say, it's just, it really is just really about bragging rights. There are a couple of different little things, like benefactors of completing each rank and stuff like that. Like, Believe It or the Bottle you're not really going to get anything more than bragging rights, but you also get access to a channel once you get to Visionary, and then you have your own unique little area you can hang out in the server. And then Visionaries also get, like, special little privileges of, like, being able to restart around the world once, if, like, an initiation's going too easy, or they can chime in because they've done it before, and it creates that community involvement, and it gives a reason that people that have done the longer initiations to come back. And then we also have it so you can also lose rank, so that we have to reinitiate anyhow. So, and that's through penalty factors of failing to follow commandment number 9, which is thou shalt not pass out first, or without the responsibility of taking off your headset. Because, you know, getting caught blackout drunk, passed out somewhere in a random public world it's kind of funny. We actually have an entire channel dedicated to taking pictures, and if you get a picture you taking, you get a roll, it's just called weak shit, and then it goes weak shit 1, weak shit 2, weak shit 3, and then once you get all 3, you have to reinitiate for that roll that you had.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's a whole culture for it. Like you'll see there's like a few different people that actively go out and hunt people at like 8 a.m. They're like, oh, they're still on blue, let me go join. They're in like a 2-person drinking night, I wonder if they're passed out. And then they'll go take a photo with them, and then they'll post it and be like, yep, you didn't escape this one.
Okay. I see. I get that. Yeah, it definitely does seem very, very like very chill, very, very like it's meant to be like camaraderie based in a lot of ways. It seems like. So I am curious, but I'm curious of how DGen Club handles people who, you know, I would imagine it's relatively easy to find people who do suffer from, you know, severe alcoholism, and people who are very much addicted to, you know, alcohol. So are there any ways that the club actually kind of, I guess, cuts people off, or like you know, maybe someone is being obnoxious or like harassing another person? Like I know you said there's conflict resolution. If there's a conflict, like you'll find out about it and it gets resolved. So I do know there's steps in place for that. But just with people in general who are suffering from alcoholism, like is there a way to kind of like, you know, I guess help those people, or to like keep them from not engaging so intensely with certain activities or events?
So, well, we've actually had a couple different users that have come through that we've actually like bared witness that someone's struggling with alcoholism and an alcohol reliancy and dependency. And with that, like, it comes with like conversation. Like you start soft, subtle, and you kind of work your way in, and you're like, hey, like, maybe you shouldn't drink so much. Like I get having fun, but like, take a tolerance break. You know, I hear a lot of like people always like, hey, take a tolerance break for a little bit. Like you're drinking too much, you're having too much, like this is not good for your health and like whatnot. Or we've had people that outright come in and we're like, hey man, calm down, stop drinking so much. Like this is dangerous. What you are doing is dangerous. You're endangering yourself, and we don't support that type of involvement. We don't want you to hurt yourself. We want you to get help. So get some help if you really desperately need it. If you need to talk to somebody and like figure out a way out of this, talk to somebody. I guarantee that we have a bunch of people that will listen and hear out and try to help you out of that situation. Which I'm super grateful that we do have that string of people that end up working together, and that way we can put people in the right direction. Inevitably, there are some people that just won't listen, and they still have those strong dependencies, but we won't keep them in the community because we don't want to be a bad influence. We want to be fun, not just bad influence all the time. Yes, drink. I don't care if you're dying, drink. No, we don't want that. We want you to be like, yeah, I'm here to have a good time, and that be it. Not here, I'm drinking to drown my memories. And I tell that to all the people that like I drink with, because some people come up to me, oh, I'm really sad drinking right now. I'm like, shouldn't do that. Alcohol is a depressant. Yes. Don't drink a depressant while you're sad. It doesn't help. Tomorrow you'll be sadder, and well, more sad. And a lot of people still like they'll blow it off, but then they'll come back and be like, yeah, no, you're right and everything. But you don't ever emotionally drink, because that's when you make the worst decisions and you end up making regrets, and you don't want regrets. So you drink for fun times, not the bad times. And those mottos end up helping out a lot, I guess, to some perspectives.
Nice. I'm glad that there are layers in place and people in the community that are genuinely trying to make sure that they're not encouraging people who are, you know, struggling with alcoholism and dependency to kind of continue to indulge in that. I'm glad there are guardrails in place with something like what you all do and what you all take part in, because like obviously, you know, I get around, you know, I go to a lot of parties and events where it's just very normal for people to, you know, just have a couple of drinks to be cheersing and all that, you know, whether it's at a rave or at a party, it doesn't really matter. It's very, very common to kind of run into that in VRChat. So to have people in your community who are taking care of that and making sure that's happening in terms of keeping people safe is something I definitely wanted to talk about and really like kind of dive into with regards to DGen Club. 'Cause it's a lot of what DGen Club is or stands for is very much, camaraderie, friendship, fun, and having a good time while indulging in various substances, which there's nothing wrong with doing that in a very like healthy, very managed setting. So with DGen Club, I guess let's kind of jump a little bit backwards. Choosing the name DGen Club, how did that name come about, and why is that name kind of stood the test of time?
Oh yeah, man, it was a cluster because we had a bunch of different names like we picked out in the initial meeting, and we didn't even think that we were gonna choose DGen Club to start. Like it was actually going to be like Degenerate Nation or something like that. Was going to be the first because we had the idea of it being a bigger span of a community, not just one club. Like, I mean, we're touching base with everything, and at the time most clubs that exist only did one, where they'd either do DJ, drinking, or dance, never all of them. And thankfully, I mean, we get to do all of them, but for DGen getting chose, it was just like that was the one that just felt the most right. I mean, we qualify ourselves as degenerates. Yeah, the group doesn't do not safe for work, but that's to avoid all the stuff and problems that come with not safe for work.
Right.
But we all know that, like, we're all crazy degenerates that do a bunch of different things, and we're running all over the place, and we're in all different types of communities. So you kind of meet someone that's being a degenerate, because that's when you're out drinking all the time. You're like, oh, what are you degenerates doing? And it was just such a common phrase at the time. We're like, yeah, I mean, we're all degenerates, so just call it DGen. And so instead of degenerate, Degenerate Generation, actually, not Degenerate Nation, yeah. So I just shortened it to DGen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So the actual name is Degenerate Generation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's
yeah.
Okay.
So just shorten it down all the way down to DGen Club. So
okay.
That's just Degenerate. So
got you. That is it's a lot easier to remember and a lot easier for people to say. In this day and age of people not really reading a whole lot, not doing a whole lot of reading, not a whole lot of comprehension going on. But but yeah, keep it in simple. Keep it in simple is good.
Yeah,
is what I'm saying. So.
Well, yeah, and we've had two groups. Well, actually, we've had one group in like two different instances where the name's like been a little bit like crazy, and we're like, oh, I don't know if we're gonna have to change it or something. One of them was when Club Degenerate came out. There was a lot of confusion back and forth because we were DGen Club and then they were Club Degenerate, so everyone was confusing kind of the two. And like there were a couple times where like moderation for them was like talking to us. We're like, hey, I don't know, that's your guys' event. But that ended up being, we ended up getting that settled, and we just kind of clarified ourselves a little bit different, and like people eventually got it. And then the other one was we eventually came in and we were at a rave, and we saw that this person's name was D-Gen. And then in parentheses Butters, and we're like, wait a minute, what in the and we ran out, and they're like, yeah, my name actually used to be just DGen, but everyone thought I was you guys, so I put Butters at the end. And we were like, oh dude, I'm so sorry, I didn't know, like we didn't hear anything, or like, and he was super cool about it, and he was like, no, like, and I get it, I understand. And then he ended up coming and DJing for us and stuff like that, because that's what he was doing at the time. And he's DJ'd for us a couple times, and funny enough, like I just got a reminder of him from, I think it was Warcraft 3. My buddy Wawa and Ash were playing it, and they found a map made by DGen Butters.
Shit, that's cool. I mean, people have very, very diverse histories in VRChat. People come from all different games and different groups of people. it's very, very interesting, like how people just end up in this space overall. It's very, very fascinating. What is it about DGen Club that you would say is its best feature? What is DGen Club's best feature? If you had to kind of condense that into like one singular reason why, why people should like pay attention to it.
I really think that it really goes deep with the camaraderie. I mean, we've talked about it a lot, but there's a lot of people that are very intertwined and very close. We've had several meetups at this point, and like these people are ride or die absolutely for one another, and it goes very deep, and it's a very harsh dedication that I'm like, even if like everything gives up at the end of the day, if DGen as a whole, like people just go, yeah, I don't want to go to the dance events, I don't want to go to the DJ events anymore, I want to go just do different things. I still have the forte, and I still have my friends that have the forte. They'd be like, yeah, we're still gonna get together on the weekends, we're still gonna go bounce around places together, and we're still all gonna represent the same thing. We're all gonna be still be together, and we're just gonna bounce around together as a core friend group at the end of the day. And I think that's probably the most important thing to me, even, is just that we have that deeper connection to be able to move on. And I try and want to make sure everyone is as included as we can, but of course it's always a struggle. You bring 20 people in, and you got 20 different people that want to have a conversation. So, but eventually, hopefully, we spread out as much as we can and include as many people as we can in VRChats, making sure that they have friends that they can join at the end of the night.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about in-person meetups? So it seems like you've had some of those.
I've been to a couple of them. I've been to one for EDC. That one was super fun. It was EDC Orlando. A bunch of different groups actually met up down there, and there's a bunch of different house parties, and you get to go there and have a good time, and like they all get their own like little Airbnb houses, and you get to have house parties with all these people on VRChat. Like, blows your mind that you get to see all these people that you've constantly always had these face-to-faces with an avatar, and now you're actually seeing who they are, what they look like. You're having conversations, going to parties with them, you're drinking with them, and then it's like it really blows your minds on getting to interact with as many people as you do. And like when I went to EDC Orlando, that was a combination of a bunch of different groups and a bunch of different people, but still had a lot of people from DGen or people that I met through DGen there. And I got to walk up to different people at house parties and, oh, hi, how's it going? Oh my gosh, no, wait, you're Mily? Oh my goodness, that's nuts. And you get to have that unique experience of building even just a whole different IRL relationship and trying to bridge that gap between the two. There, but that one was absolutely nuts. The other ones I got to go to was a lake house in New York. That one was absolutely fun, and we made jungle juice. So we poured a bunch of different bottles into what are they, the bins, the clothing bins, the like tubs where you put all the clothes in for keeping from moss and stuff. Well, yeah, so we had those little storage bins. We filled one of them all the way up with alcohol. Well, not all the way up. I wouldn't say all the way to the brim, but we filled it up. So, and we were drinking out of that for like a weekend, and we were going out on the lake. We did fishing, and having like good cooked food. James made some amazing food, and great times. And again, just building that camaraderie. We also set up hot boxes both times for both of the meetups in the northeastern hemisphere. The one we recently did was out in Poconos, that mountains up there.
Okay. Yeah, I'm familiar.
And and we all met up there, and we kind of just got together and like had a nice little weekend. The only thing that, well, it was a week, but the only thing that really brought a hamper on it, everyone ended up getting COVID, and it was a new strain that one person caught in the airport, and the airport was one of the only places registered with that new COVID variant. We just got unlucky.
Wow.
So everyone got really sick, a lot of medicine being passed around, but people still took care of one another, and you're still seeing people care about one another like their family. Not really just like, oh yeah, you're some stranger or whatever. No, it was like right off the bat, like some people, like Moose, never been to a meetup before, but everyone going up, interacting, and, you know, giving hugs and saying hi. And it's because you're not really waiting for that bridge. We've just been around each other so much that kind of just know each other in that perspective. But hotboxed both times, and the last one for Poconos was really funny because it was in my police car, because I own a retired police car. And, we all hotboxed that. And it's unique because it still has everything on it. It has like the RAM bar, it has this light bar on top, and then it also has the canine cage in the back. So there's no back seat. It's just it's an actual canine cage. And so we had 3 rows of people, me and Blue sitting up front, and then, you know, Rexton and who was the one in the second back? It was Rexton, Magic, and then Missile and Larry, all the way in the back in like the trunk space, and we were passing joints between the bars.
Jeez.
to smoke in it.
The irony.
Some of the memories you get there. Well, and then the one time that was in EDC Orlando, I was giving a ride to Moxie and Fox, and they were sitting in the back in the duck cage part in the car because they wanted to ride around the cop car. And from the previous night, I had taken people that were really drunk back to the house. And someone left a joint in the back of the car, and Bugsy looks over and goes, "Is that a joint?" and picks it up. I'm like, "Yep, this is the only time ever in your life you're gonna say you found a joint in the back of your police car, and you got to keep it."
And that is pretty wild. Like, I mean, honestly, that sounds really, really fun. It sounds like a good time. Like, just people, like, you know, coming together. You know, like you said, the camaraderie is like the most important aspect of things, and like that, the fact that you all have been like creating like events out in the real world as well, like meetups and such. I think that's super, super cool. To kind of like, you know, bring people together and have them all hang out. And yeah, I honestly think I think that's something that I don't really hear a whole lot of. There's obviously a lot of groups, a lot of organizations, a lot of like just events and circles that people have created, but you don't really hear about a lot of those people meeting IRL and like kind of bridging the gap. And I think that's something that I think people don't really hear happen as much in VRChat, especially those again who are like on the upper level. And by the upper level, I mean like at the very beginning, they're first getting into VRChat because you have to dig down to see the rest of it. Yeah. So like the people who are just on the surface level of VRChat, they don't really get to see like and hear of like those sorts of things happening because they just think everything just happens in VRChat and that's it. So I think it's very great to hear that, you know, a club as big as yours has ultimately started to have IRL meetups and you know, kind of really bridge that gap and have a really, really like, memorable like connections with people that are within the same group and stuff. That's very, very cool. I like it.
Yeah, it creates a lot of unique chances and opportunities because like I've met up with people quite a few times from VR, not just like organized meetups, but just being like, oh, like I'm swinging around that part of town, like you want to come visit. Like there's even like a put together meetup where like 5 people came up from like all around the New York region. We all went up to upstate New York when I was visiting my family, and we did a bunch of crazy things. Like we went bar hopping one night in my hometown, and that was super fun. I mean, we had lots of different experiences for that one, and it was funny because we went bar hopping and everyone was in onesies and I was in an Officer Doofy uniform from the Scary Movie. So it was great, and like since I had the police car then too, like I pulled out, and there's so many different stories from that night. But I actually have a picture of an actual cop coming up with me, and they took a photo with me because they're like, he stopped in the middle of the road. He's like, "Is that Officer Doofy?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, I gotta take a photo, so he ran over and came and took a photo.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane. Like that's the kind of stuff you hear about like people doing like in high school, and like the energy that I'm sensing and that I'm hearing from these experiences that you're sharing, it definitely feels like stuff that you would do like back in high school, like you would do like when you're still like kind of growing up and figure out who you are, and you just going out with friends and hanging out with people, and you're just kind of just doing wild shit that you wouldn't normally end up doing like when you're an adult. But all of you are like grown adults, and you guys are just still having like really really awesome memorable times. You know, it's really really cool, really cool. I wonder how many of those people are like, you know, like have like day jobs like in the midst of like doing all these things, like kind of juggling that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We have so many people that work so many different fields, and it's interesting to see, because like one of our bottle priests, one of our people that initiate people, they're a college professor. That is nuts. They actually just got a PhD. They have a doctorate. Like it is nuts to think that someone that just put in an entire thing about how batteries work, they come and help and have fun with us and vibe with us and have some of the most crazy and unique experiences with those people. It's so fun, and trying to tie them together, you kind of don't see it one way or another. It's just interesting to see.
Yeah, and honestly, that doesn't surprise me at all. Like, I do find that there are a number of people who engage in VRChat who are very much people who are doing high-powered jobs, who are working who are doing very important things in the world, or like they're pursuing some sort of like you know like higher form of education, or they're doing very important like work in like whatever, like in maybe engineering, or perhaps in psychology. But VR chat for them is a way for them to have a good time and disengage from those pursuits, and just kind of like have a good time. They come to VR chat to have a pleasant, chill time without any like restrictions, and just kind of having a good time and chill around like-minded people, while also doing those very like important jobs that they do, which I've met people like that. It's I find it's more common than people may think that you have people like, working for stuff and doing stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, especially, you got like the people that are a little bit more well off, and like they got their full body because they paid for it and everything. You can find a lot of people, and like, oh my goodness, some of the people that have spent so much money. Like I know like some people that have had like an entire warehouse just dedicated to VR, and so that way they could set up whatever they wanted into it, like a swing, a dancing pole, and like everything inside their own play spaces, and it ends up becoming like a whole thing of who has the bigger play space, and like what can they do in their play space, and how do you maintain yourself while you're in VR, and there's a whole fun little comparative culture to it, I guess. But it's fun.
Yeah, definitely seems that way. So if someone wanted to open their own club in VR chat, what would you say? What would be the some things that they should keep in mind?
That you're gonna experience a lot of hard times, and like overall that like it's not as cut and dry as it might seem, and what you think is the positive and whatnot can very much end up being turned and not be a positive. So if you're gonna do it, make sure that you stay true to what you want to do and continue to pursue it for a good reason. Because eventually, if it's for bad reasons and it's something selfish, people eventually find out, and then you have friends falling apart, and then you end up in a whole buttload of drama. But if you stay right to yourself and you stay right to the community, and as long as you're doing the right thing, you'll find people that will support you. And that's the great thing. It's just there are a million people out there, and you can meet them all. And someone out there will support you. But there are definitely going to be lots of times where it gets hard. But as long as you keep your head up and you stay on your path, then you can't really stop.
Okay. And what is your favorite part about being, like you have a very successful club that's been around for 4 years, four or so years at this point, and like you have a great staff. You have, over like 8,000 people on your Facebook. Why I see Facebook, that's crazy. Your VRC group. Your like you have like a good number of people in your Discord as well. And I know it's not just yours, but I mean,
Yeah.
you're like the key owner of the entire organization. So like, what does that feel like? What is that like to be in your position to have that kind of responsibility and to do what you do on a weekly basis, and sometimes daily, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's lots of parts that's great for it. Absolutely, lots of times where it's great. You have lots of friends, you have lots of people that want to talk to you and communicate with you, and you get a lot of those great experiences. But inevitably, it also comes with the con side of it. When everyone wants to talk to you, you kind of can't really get that form to meet and spend all that quality time that you want with everybody. You kind of have to divvy it up and spread it out and do this, that, and another. And it, like that part is where it gets hard, and dealing with all the malarkey that you end up handling in the background, it kind of gets overwhelming. But I really do enjoy like the fact that if I go out and I'm walking around, someone's probably gonna join me. There's a good chance that my group will join me, even if I'm just out in the middle of nowhere. And like if I'm getting a rough time, I have people that I know will come up and be like, "Hey, give him a second, please," because I don't like conflict. I don't like conflicting with people. It's probably one of my biggest weaknesses as a club owner is conflict. I have a hard time with wanting to be conflicted with other people. I don't like having to be mean or anything like that. So, but I get people that help, and I get to see all these great things and and talk to all these wonderful people that constantly are doing more and more things. And then when you do go out and like you get to have those chancing, it's always a good feeling when someone's like, "Oh wait, you own that group? Like what in the heck? That's crazy. I know about them." And then it's like, yeah, I love it. I love the group. And then you guys end up talking about that, and then it sparks some conversations even with people that I've never talked to before. You just get some mutual, "Oh, I'm in that group. Oh, you're in that group. Oh, that's cool." And you get to talk, and it's pretty neat.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, all the friends that I've made along the way too. I absolutely amazing people. A lot of people that I've made good and deep conversations and relationships and everything with, and life would be way different without them.
I would imagine so. Yeah. Like how, speaking of drama and conflict, how do you, as the club owner, go about, I think it's one thing having to deal with conflict with people who are a part of your club, of your group, but how does one deal with conflict potentially between different clubs in that sense? Has that ever happened before, and how has that kind of worked out?
There's always some risk, and there's always some chance. We've had some deep rooted conflicts, but really it's timing, talking, and like setting up and making sure that you're trying your best to do the right thing when it comes to situations. So like even when you ultimately have to make a bad decision, making sure that you're on the right side of having that bad decision and have cause, reason, and not just from feeling. And it's been a very important thing for us, is that like our ban list, when we post them and everything like that, we give a reason for most of them. And the only ones that like don't get posted are like ones that it's like, okay, they weren't here, like there's no real reason to like broadcast it if they didn't do anything to affect here. So it's not our community that we're having to struggle with. But dealing with arguments and problems between other communities, it gets a little bit more tricky, and kind of just kill them with kindness is my motto. Is you kind of just don't feed into the negativity, and you don't sit there and be like, yeah, well, you guys suck too. It's just like, well, dang, man, you have to say we suck. It's like, oh, get it, you might not have a great time because you don't agree with this, but like that's how we do it because it works for us. It might not work for you, and small little arguments. As long as you communicate, and as much as everyone, like, I would say around has a hard time with communicating, as long as you try to do your best to make up for the part that other people won't, and just try to create that distance, and people have a harder time with making it worse for you because you're not giving them that energy to make it worse.
Okay. So, just kind of like, I want to dig a little bit deeper on this. So, like, when you've had, so you're saying that this has happened before, conflict between other clubs. So you've had to deal with that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So is it largely just kind of, is it like what you would see, like, like on the streets, like between different companies? Like you just sit down and you like have a meeting with like, owner to owner type deal, and you just kind of like hash out your differences there? Is it formalized like that, or has it just been kind of like on the fly with things just kind of being worked out naturally over time?
For the most part, it depends on like how big of a situation it is. Like if it's something very serious where like there's active like problems and constant issues coming up between one another, you can most of the time you sit down and have a conversation. You like sit there, you'll bring in the other owner to a call, or this that, bring in your staff, a witness, this, that, and another, and like, look, we want to hash this out, figure out bury that somewhere, or if the hatch is not where we're continuing to dig, like continuing to unveil problems, and it's just better to move on about that problem. Essentially burn itself out because, as you mentioned earlier, VRChat's timeline is a lot faster than anywhere else.
Right.
You're gonna see relationships rise and fall in a matter of a month. You're gonna see groups rise and fall in a matter of a couple months, and like that's lifetime for some people. Where it's like you'll talk to somebody for a month and they're like, I haven't seen you in years, and they're like, you saw me last month, man. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
But it helps because it still even works for grudges for the most part. Like a lot of people eventually just go, that was kind of stupid, and if you're being nice to them and not being that jerk, then people kind of just go, okay, well, I don't know why I threw a fit before or made a problem when obviously just shouldn't. And it helps even like in between the relationships of different groups or stuff like that. There have been places that like we won't interact with. There still are to this day. We have our own list of people that we won't interact with for certain reasons, and most of the time we've explained it to those places why we won't collaborate or do group things with them, and it's because of these reasons. And a lot of the time, since we do our own investigations and we have our clear and identifiable things, Mercy helps out a lot with that, and so does James, that when we put those in explanations, people don't really contest it, and they're like, I understand, I get it, I don't want that to continue to be an issue. And we're like, we'll still do what we can, but no, I can't openly, like, I can't support you. I just can't.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Like that makes sense to me, for sure. So, what would you say is like the what has been DGen Club's most shining moment? What's like what's the most impressive, distinct thing that DGen Club has done in its existence?
Oh man, we've had a lot of different little things that we've done. Lots of little things. I mean, so we're not doing Liquor Olympics this time because other clubs and other communities have to go and do that. We won Liquor Olympics 3 times back to back. Let's go. So that's the drinking competition of a bunch of different groups, largely in part from all the teams that we had and all the greatness of the members and everything. And Mercy also did great with helping putting teams together for that. That was awesome. And then all the charity events that we've gotten to participate in too, like the Gear Fest one, it was amazing getting to work with Scoot and all them, and VRChat, and the American Red Cross, and raising money for them. And then both years that we've done the Trevor Project with Femboyos Club, which you did the podcast, well, not podcast, but the interview for afterwards. That was amazing. And like that, it's so hard to say specifically one instance, because we've had a lot, but I think overall it just comes down to like when we all get to a party and at the end of the night everyone has a great time, and that to me is just where the shining moments are, is just when we're all there to have a good time. It's very hard to pick a specific.
All right, well, that's good. I mean, if you're having trouble picking one, then it seems like you've done, like the entire club has done a lot. So that's good to hear. That's good to hear. Like it's big on camaraderie and big on collaboration and trying to make a difference wherever possible, and just kind of working with other people to do cool stuff, which you can't really go wrong with that sort of thing, for sure. All right, so I have a couple more questions for you. So we'll kind of get into those. So where would you like to be in 2 years? And I don't mean in location, I mean in terms of your goals, personal goals, ambitions. Like where would you like to be in 2 years from now?
And of course I want to continue and build the group and do as much as we can, and I really want to get to some points where we can do some cross events where I've seen them before, where there's a DJ playing at a live location, and then you can stream both the game to the people at the bar, and then you can stream the bar to the people in game. A really cool concept. I hope that we can do some of those, but and then also trying to get a little bit heavier into helping with charity work too. That'd be awesome. I think in the next couple of years, it's stuff that I really want to strive for.
What inspires you?
Good memories, honestly. It's as simple as I could make that. It's good memories and making sure that the people around me have them too. Because I know that life is filled with a lot of bad things and lots of bad moments. You're going to struggle. That's just how life is. We all say life's a bitch. It's going to kick you while you're down. Well, I don't want to be an additive factor to kick somebody down at the end of the day. I'd rather be a positive influence, and I want to make more people have a better time, and that's what motivates me, is having someone go from having a really bad day to having a great night with their friends. And I think it's the most important thing to me. It's always building good memories and making sure everyone's having a good time.
How would you define friendship?
Friendship. Oh, that's a good one. Because for me, there's two different types of friendships that you can have. You have your acquaintance friendships, which are the people that they're there, you can have your good times, and you can build some pretty solid memories. But then you also have your friends, which are the people that you rely on, the people that have your back even when other people are struggling, as long as that your friend supports you and you're in the right. Obviously, if you're doing something bad, they're going to tell you, hey, don't be an idiot, stop being an idiot. But helping strive and pushing you for your goals, I think that's what really friends should do, is that no matter what, no matter the time and distance, you want the best for that other person, and they want the best for you, and you both have an agreement that you want each other to prosper.
Okay. And if you could give any manner of advice to those who are listening and watching right now, it could be about anything that we talked about, it could be anything that we haven't talked about, but what manner of advice would you give to the people who are listening to you, or know who you are and what you're about now?
Advice I have is it's going to kind of tie into what I was saying, but the advice is that life is very hard, life will always be hard, but do not let life's hardships be the only thing that you see, because there is always some little speck of glitter in a world full of darkness. There will be one little bit that will shine. It doesn't matter how dark and cloudy and shadowy it is. There's something there that will give you light, even if it's a little bit, and use that light to guide you towards more. Because the more you spread and kindle and build that little light, then the better of an influence it is on everyone around us, not just yourself.
Yeah, I like that. And where can people find you?
Well, you always find me in DGen VCs. That's where I hang out like all the time. If I'm not in there, I'm bouncing around everywhere in VRChat. I kind of go to group publics, go to norm publics. I go to drinking nights for our events. I do other people's events. If you want me to come check out your event, I'll come check out your event. I'm always down to have a good time with people. So, yeah, kind of all over the place, all at the same time. As much as I can, at least.
All right. Hell yeah. All right. And for those of you who would like to keep up with me and where you can find me, if you're listening to this right now over on YouTube, hey, thank you for watching this on YouTube. You can find me over at twitch.tv/Nepherti with 2 eyes. You can also find me on Twitter at Nepherti with 2 eyes. And if you're watching this live on Twitch right now, thanks for watching this live. I appreciate that very much. You can find me over at YouTube at Nepherti with 1 eye. Sorry for the inconsistencies, just the nature of names being taken. But hopefully I can change that one day. It just is what it is. But you can find me over at YouTube with just remove 1 eye and you'll find me there. If you can't find me, type in VTuber and I'm bound to show up. You can also, if you want to find out more information about the podcast and about the guests that I'm having on, what could be about any information, any updates, and also episode releases that will be coming out on YouTube, including this one. You can go and follow the account, the podcast account over at x.com/sweettalkingpod. And you can find all the information of past guests, of releases, and upcoming guests that maybe you would want to keep track of yourself so you don't miss anything that's coming down in the future. I also put out these notifications and on vrc.tl. I've also started using the VRChat calendar. So if you want to join my VRC group, Aurorascape, you can join that group. I'm thinking of making a specific group just for the podcast, actually. I'm strongly considering these days. So I'll let you know if that comes around. But for now, we can find my VRC group, and you can find any calendar announcements most likely through there. Or if you find me on VRChat, I guess you can look at that too, but most likely just the group, join the group. And you'll see everything you need to know over there. So we're gonna go ahead and move into, there is one more thing. I said I would mention this. If you are in fact interested on any level of supporting what I do, more than just watching, more than just liking the video, more than just tuning in, if you are interested in supporting what I do in a more monetary sense, you can do so through patreon.com/Nepherti. This is completely optional. I have different tiers starting at $3, so if you'd want to support what I do and get some extra perks while you're at it, you can check that out over at patreon.com/Nepherti. It's really, really easy, and it helps support what I do, since basically at the moment I'm not getting any income from YouTube by publishing these videos. So if you'd like to just kind of help out with that and just let me know that you enjoy what I do, check that out, and maybe you'll see something that you'd like. But I sincerely appreciate everyone who has been watching and tuning in and just supporting what I do consistently. That makes all the difference, especially sharing this around. I would highly appreciate it if people could share, these episodes, because that makes a big, big difference. So now we'll be moving into the post conversation with Mily. I'm actually looking forward to asking some additional questions of him. I think that we had a really, really great conversation. It was really, really awesome to talk with Mily this evening. I'm glad that we can kind of dig into all the things that I've been wanting to ask you and finally kind of talk about those things in full detail. And I'm very, very, very glad that you were able to make time to be on with me. I really appreciate that.
Oh, it was great. It was a great conversation. I really enjoyed this. For first time for me, it was awesome. So, and yes, definitely make your group for your podcast, by the way. I join it.
Okay. Hell yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking that's the move to make at this point, to really kind of keep everything separate from what I do as a streamer and what I'm doing with this, because this is like its own thing. So that's what I'm kind of thinking I'm doing. So yeah, if I do, I'll be sure to let you know. For sure.
Yeah, let me know, definitely.
Yeah.
All right, yeah.
So to everyone who's been tuning in, I really appreciate you all tuning in to episode 68 of the Sweet Talking podcast. Like I said, we'll be moving it into the post-content section. We'll be asking Mily some additional questions and taking some questions from chat. But if you're tuning in now, this will be the end of what you all can see. And if you'd like to see the post-conversation and previous post-conversations that I've had with other guests, you can see all of that over at Patreon, actually. So if you'd like to see all of them and get access to 30 plus post conversations just by subscribing, even at the lowest tier, you can do that right now if you're interested. But for the time being, I'm very, very grateful to Mily for being on the podcast tonight, and we're gonna go ahead and move on to that. So thank you all so much for tuning in to this episode of the podcast. Hell yeah. I've been your host, Nepherti, joined by Milyugen, the owner of DGen Club. Be sure to go check out the VRChat group and find them around VRChat. Say hi. He's very, very friendly, if you couldn't tell already. And I think you'll definitely have a great time at all the events that they're doing over there. So in the meantime, thank you all so much for tuning in, and until the next one, I will see you all next time for episode 69, because that is definitely going to be a doozy. You don't want to miss episode 69. It's going to be a good time. I'm not joking. You do not want to miss episode 69. It's going to be good. But thank you for tuning into this episode as well, and previous episodes if you have. But until then, I will catch you all later. Take care, and I'll see you all in the next episode. Bye-bye.